What's being killed? What's being killed? What's being killed? What's being killed? What's being killed?
It's God. It's God. It's God.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another stream. All right. I just had a couple technical difficulties before we got the live stream started. AP will be here. I know you guys see him in the thumbnail. He will be here a little later. So, but you know, in the in-between time, right? We have David Wood, Giant DLC, and we're going to open up the panel for Muslims to join. So go ahead and share the YouTube out. If you guys know some Muslims, go ahead and share it out. We'll have Muslims click the link only, guys. You see it? It says Muslims join only. All right. So make sure you click that link. And today we want you guys to come prove Islam is true. Okay. So anybody in the StreamYard link should be Muslim. Okay. So if I bring you up and you say you're not Muslim, you're just going to be immediately removed. All right. Now, with that being said, we got Jai and DOC, and we got David Wood in here. And we're waiting for AP, but we're going to get the live stream started, y'all.
Yeah, this is an interesting topic because, as I'm sure you guys have experienced, basically, many of the arguments that were used when I was getting started, having discussions about Islam, were eventually abandoned because we crushed them. And then some of the arguments lasted a bit longer, but then those turned out to be complete nonsense. They were always nonsense, but eventually Muslim da'is themselves had to acknowledge that these arguments were nonsense or help us expose them for them and so on. So we're actually to a point in 2025 where I have no idea what their case for Islam is going to be. And I'm seriously interested in hearing from Muslims, like what arguments are you using? Because I've seen two basic trends. One is to circle back to arguments that they abandoned, 15 or 20 years ago, and circle back to these old arguments because people aren't used to them anymore. And so there's that. So one of the approaches is to circle back. The other approach is to continue using the arguments that have been debunked. As a Muslim, these arguments have been debunked, but you look for people who don't know the Dawah script and aren't familiar with them. In other words, you look for an atmosphere of ignorance to keep using the same old arguments. And so what you'll find is Muslims will never use like the argument from perfect preservation against Jai and DOC, but they'll still use it with some random person on the street who knows absolutely nothing about the textual history of the Quran. So that's kind of the situation when I'm talking about arguments that they abandoned years ago that they might start bringing back. It's like when I was starting, it was a popular argument that Muhammad's character was so perfect in every way that it's actually miraculous, and this guy had to be from God. That's the real reason we started going after like Muhammad and Aisha back in the day. It wasn't just, hey, we've got a problem with this could promote child marriage, although that was an issue. It was mainly, you guys say this guy's character is perfect, and he had sex with a 9-year-old girl. How do you reconcile that? And for years they said, no, that's not true. That's a mistranslation. It actually says she was 19 and so on. So we spent years having to refute that. Then they said, okay, yeah, there's a source that says that, but there's all these other sources that say something different. And we had to spend years responding to that and show, no, we've got hundreds of sources saying she was 9. What do we have saying that she was older? So it took us years to go through that, and years. Anyway, you eventually get to a point where they stop using this argument from Muhammad's amazing character, because it doesn't work. Because every time they bring it up, they get shot down with Muhammad and Aisha and so on. So you have arguments like that were popular when I was starting off, but then they abandoned over the next several years. But then you had arguments they were clinging to even more, like the perfect preservation of the Quran and the scientific miracles. But eventually, even Ali Dawah acknowledged that the scientific miracles argument has been debunked. He pointed out, he said, that's why you don't see any of the main Dawah guys using the argument anymore. We all know it. He says everyone agrees with me. That's why no one's objecting to me saying this. And then, of course, you had the infamous holes in the narrative interview, which completely destroyed this argument from perfect preservation. And so it's this weird situation where every argument these guys have given in defense of Islam over the course of Islam and especially over the past 30 years has turned out to be not just something that we might disagree about, but it's almost always based on complete nonsense and fabrication. And so if all your arguments have been exposed as complete nonsense, I don't even know what you guys argue anymore. It seems to me that Islam is just basically becoming one big gang, like join us for protection, join us or else, and not, hey, here's how you can know this is the truth. And, if that's what Islam is transforming into, they could actually be successful in that. If you have the muscle, and you have a big enough mob and you can impose your will on other people, you can actually get people joining Islam exactly like they join a gang. I have to join this, because if not, then I'm in trouble. But yeah, I'm wondering if there is at this point any actual case for arguing that Muhammad is a true prophet that isn't complete absolute nonsense.
Yeah, I agree with David's assessment, and I want to say this is why I want to keep to this topic, but I want to just fine tune it a little bit. So it says, "Come prove Islam is true," but we want to know to the Muslims, come to us with the reason why you believe, you personally, why do you believe Islam is true? That's what we want to know, because like David said, what Muslims will do is they'll just kind of like the other stream that we did the other day. You guys can watch it with David, which is we had a Muslim come up and he basically like threw whatever he could at the wall, hoping to see what would stick, what wouldn't stick. Oh, astrology is in the Quran, embryology is in the Quran, prawn preservation, and those were all smoke screens from the topic we were actually discussing, but about which was racism in Islam, Arab supremacy in Islam. So we didn't engage on those topics because it wasn't related. But that's what Muslims do. They just throw whatever they can, and like if the person doesn't know about a particular topic, like let's say they're saying, oh, hey, there's embryology in the Quran, and the person they're talking to isn't familiar with the fact that someone like Ali Dawah said, yeah, I converted because of that, like the scientific miracles. Then I found out it was wrong, like David said, and and that's why we all abandoned it, because we all found out it was wrong. We all know it's wrong, but Muslims will still use that, and if they find out, like, okay, these guys, they're in the know. They know that this argument is debunked, and like they can even quote our own guys against us, like Hamza Tortsis and things like that. Why they shouldn't use those arguments, or Muhammad Hijab or Ali Dawah, whatever it is. Well, they'll just throw something else. Oh, Quran preservation. And if you don't know how to respond to that, then they'll use that one until they find out, oh, they guys can respond to that one. So that's what I've found. That's my experience with Muslims. So just throw whatever they can, and they want whatever the topic you don't know about is the one that they are going to stick with. They're hoping you don't know about the topic. So yeah.
Oh, I just want to put, like, isn't that massively screwed up? I mean, think about someone, whatever position they hold, whether Christian or non-Christian or whatever. I mean, think about someone like, let's say William Lane Craig. William Lane Craig, for years and in dozens of debates, would come out and give the exact same 5 arguments for the existence of God over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And what does that mean? It means he's actually confident in his arguments. If he'll go and use these arguments against a professor from Oxford University, that means he's confident in these arguments. He's willing to argue against the absolute best, most knowledgeable people on these topics. What's that mean? It means he at least believes he has good arguments, and he's showing that he actually believes these are good arguments by using them over and over again, not trying to catch anyone off guard with anything, and using them against people who are extremely knowledgeable in those areas. You look at Dawah, when they meet someone, they're going down the line. Okay, what do you know about? Do you know anything about science? Do you know anything about this? Do you know anything about the history of the Quran? Do you know anything about this? Do you know anything about Muhammad's character? And then they look for whatever you don't know about, and then they start feeding you nothing but lies. Here's a person that I can lie to because this person does not know about this topic. And they'll try to convert you to Islam based on lies. If they're asking you questions, as John just pointed out, if they're asking you questions and, oh, this person does know what the Quran says about this, or this person does know about embryology or something like that. Okay, don't use the arguments with this person. Well, what's that mean? It means you know these arguments cannot stand up to any level of scrutiny, and that you have to find people who are completely ignorant in order to use your argument. And that's so evil. That's so evil and disgusting. It's like, do you guys actually believe there's any reason to believe in your religion or not? If you do, you should be willing to say it, even in the presence of someone who's quite familiar with the evidence. In fact, you should really want to give the argument to someone who's knowledgeable on that topic, because that's the person who's going to be able to confirm and say, hey, yes, this person is completely right. This is a really good argument. This is a really good piece of evidence. Instead, it's just the opposite. And it's like, if Islam is the truth, does Islam need this method? If Islam is the truth and the evidence actually supported it, would they need completely ignorant people, and would they need an endless supply of lies to support their arguments? That's usually not a sign of the truth. If people have a position and they can only use their arguments in an atmosphere of ignorance, and they can only support their claims by outright lying, and so that's the reason they're looking for ignorant people, because the ignorant people will not know how to expose the lies. But I mean, if that's what Dawah is, that's not a good sign that this is a true religion. And yet this is what we have.
And also, I've seen an evolution of arguments. Like, first it was Muhammad is great moral character, perfect preservation, scientific miracles, and now there's a new wave with the Sneakers of the world and the Andrew Tates of the world of a red pill thing. Like, if you want to get your woman in control, be a Muslim. Yeah. I've seen people walking around with shirts insulting Jesus, nothing happens to them. But those Muslims will take you down if you have the same shirt about Muhammad. It's more of a macho sort of red pill argument rather than the usual,
like a truth-based
or Muhammad's morality or all the other stuff that they have.
And part of that is just like that's kind of another thing they need to do, is like trend jacking.
Yeah.
Like, oh, a significant part of the population is concerned about this. Let's say Islam is what fixes that problem. And so, and they've been doing this for years. When it was popular to be peaceful, oh, Islam's a religion of peace. When it became popular to be macho and a top G and stuff like that, then it's, yes, we will subjugate and humiliate you. And it's like, how does Islam just magically become the solution to anything? And it just goes back to this atmosphere of ignorance sort of thing. If you're talking to a population and they're worried about X, not the platform, but I'm just worried about issue X, then if the person doesn't know anything about Islam, you can jump in there as a Muslim Dawah clown and say, yes, you're worried about this. Islam is the solution to this. And they go, oh, really? Let me convert. And I don't know. It's just there's something just massively pathetic about all of it. It's like, you look at this, and if you see what's going on, you're like, how could this possibly be the truth? And how do the people who are using this method, how can they say they actually believe it when they know for a fact, when they approach someone, they have to find out if this person knows anything, and if this person knows anything, then run. How can you still have any? How can you pretend to believe in Islam or believe that you actually have good arguments when this is how you act? Anyway, weird stuff, wild stuff.
Yeah. And I imagine, oh, okay, we got someone now. Okay. Yeah. Just real quick though, I imagine we'll hear this a lot. Like, once a Muslim brings up a topic and they think that this is why Islam is true, and if they find out that, one of us knows about the topic, we're soon going to hear them say, well, I'm not a scholar. I'm not a scholar. That's what they usually default to. But yeah, I see we have I'm not a bot. Welcome to the stream.
Hello. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Thank you. So, you asked how Islam is the truth, right?
Yeah. Specifically, why do you believe that Islam is true?
Yeah. You talked about this, but I will bring it up. Embryology in the Quran.
Okay.
I want to hear what you say about it.
Hey, I am not a bot. Tell us the truth. Tell us the truth. If you have any respect for God, please tell us the truth. Are you trolling
I have.
and you're just making fun of the argument, or do you actually take embryology in the Quran seriously?
No, I take it seriously. I want to hear what
Ooh.
you say about it.
Okay.
So what do you know about embryology? Just before we get into it.
Yeah.
So
Do you know where babies come from?
Human development. You say the flesh and bone is made at the same time, but the verse doesn't say the then we made the flesh. It doesn't say that. It says then we
what's
clothed
thumma
it.
mean?
Yeah,
What's thumma mean?
Tuma?
Yeah.
You mean مضغة, right?
No.
No, not مضغة. ثم.
Thumma.
Thumma means thin.
Then, right? So after,
Yeah.
sequentially. So this thing happens and nothing happens afterwards, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have
Yes.
thumma. Do you know that you have thumma in that verse?
Do you have thumma like 2 times? And fa also mean thin. And you have فخلقناها
What does fa? 1 second. What does fa mean?
It means thin too.
It means then as well. Thank you. So there you go. There's your then.
So let's just be clear. So when you're saying the Quran teaches embryology, are you saying as we understand it today in science and medicine,
Yes.
that
yes.
lines up with what the Quran says? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes,
can you
that's what
can you
I'm
explain to us, just in case people don't know embryology who are listening, how does
embryology.
the Quran say that the baby is made?
Well, in Surah Al-Mu'minun,
Yep.
آية رقم
14.
1 Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. It
Yeah.
says فخلقنا. I memorized the verse, so let me
Just
say it.
say in English, because we know the Arabic, but most people don't. So can you say in English as much as you can?
Okay. Then we made the sperm. I don't understand much translation, but the sperm was
Yeah.
made into alaqa.
What is
I
alaqa?
think you called it embryology, right?
Yeah. What is alaqa? What
I'm not
sperm
sure.
goes into what?
Sperm balls. Sorry, I can't translate much. If you can
So
bring
if you
what
can't
I would
translate,
say.
how do you know anything then?
Because
can you-
I feel.
Do you mean that you just don't know the English terms? Is that what you're saying? You don't know the
Yeah,
English
yeah.
terms?
Okay, explain to me in
Yeah.
Arabic what is alaqa, and I'll translate for you. I'm being really nice to you now.
Alaqa,
Mhm.
it's like an animal. It's like an animal.
Thought he wanted to do
An animal. So the sperm becomes an animal. Is that correct?
No. Let me explain to you. There's an animal called alaqa.
Okay.
And
What is
that
this animal?
He's like a worm, but that animal looks like the face of the human at that
Okay.
time.
So
So
the
that's
sperm
why
becomes
the
1 second. The sperm becomes an animal looking like a worm, correct?
yeah, not
Yeah.
you
Okay,
know the fat worm.
The leech.
fat
Yeah,
worm.
the leech. Yeah, it is. So
Yeah, the leech.
the leech. Thank you. So the sperm becomes a leech. Okay, and then what happens?
Becomes mudra. Mudra is something chewed up. And
Okay,
if you
so
look,
the chewed up. So the sperm becomes a leech and then becomes chewed up, correct?
no, it becomes something like something chewed up. If you
The-
understand what I mean.
Okay, I understand you. So sperm becomes like a leech and then like something chewed up. Yes, and then what?
Then it's clothed with. Then it becomes bones. Then
Okay.
it's clothed
Mhm.
with flesh. And here is
Okay.
your argument. I think you say that bones and flesh are made at the same time, but if
Okay.
you look at the verse,
Mhm.
it says then we clothed it. It doesn't say then we made it into flesh.
Okay, I get you. So bones first and then clothes. So clothes, just again to explain to my half brain, when I put clothes on, I'm here first and then the clothes go on top, correct?
If you look at the embryology,
No, I don't look at embryology. I'm asking you at the verse. Bones first and then like a cloth, like when you put a shirt, then the flesh goes on
yeah,
top of the bone, correct?
yes,
So that means
correct.
that something exists before that thing that's closed on there goes on there, right? Something exists.
No. Actually, if you look at the embryology,
No,
the
I don't
flesh
look
and
at
the
the
bones
embryology.
are
I'm looking
made.
at the... No, I don't
Yeah,
say
I will
embryology.
explain. Wait, please. The bones and flesh are made at the same time,
Uh-huh.
but they don't close. Later they close.
Oh, later they close. So this it still comes after.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So to summarize for everyone, first we have a sperm, then it becomes leech, something like leech, then it becomes something like chewed up, then it becomes bones, and then later it becomes clothed with flesh, correct?
Yes. Where's the problem in that?
That's all a bunch of nonsense, my friend.
How is that nonsense?
Get me any embryologist that will say a leech comes from sperm, then chewed up, then bones.
No,
then...
I didn't say it becomes glitch. I said something like glitch.
Okay, well, there's no such thing.
Yes, I can show you an image.
Okay.
You can show us an image.
Show me an image of a leech.
Image from the Dawah, from the book, A Brief Illustrated Guide to Understanding Islam.
Okay, so I'm glad we got Arabic.
No.
And Dr. Keith.
Wait.
More, yeah.
Wait, I need to charge my phone. I will be back in like 5 seconds.
Okay. So this is the reason why you're Muslim, because of this leech and chew it up nonsense.
There's also arbits, but I will talk about this later.
Okay.
That's one of the. I couldn't hear. Is that one of the reasons?
Yeah, I think so. He said he'll talk about.
Okay.
All right.
What, he left? Oh, we have Mustafa. We got a new Muslim.
What happened to the leech?
Hi, everybody. What's up?
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Welcome to the stream.
What is the main topic here?
Well, we were just discussing did you hear the discussion previously?
Not all of it.
Okay, well, basically, I don't know. Life, is he coming back or did he disconnect or what? I don't know what happened to him.
No, I've heard you talking about pregnancy or something.
So the main topic is, why do you believe Islam is true? The guy before you, he was talking about embryology in the Quran, scientific miracles. So,
Do you know why I am Muslim?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you're Muslim. I would love to know that.
Because of all the stupidity that I've seen from other religions.
Okay.
Is that a good reason?
That's weird. That's exactly what lots of atheists say. They say, "Oh, look, I've seen so much stupidity from religions, therefore that I'm just going to conclude that religions."
No,
are
but
stupid."
when you see Christians, you
whoa,
see
whoa,
them
whoa,
worship.
whoa, hang on. No, we're wondering about because we know what you're doing, right? You want to switch the topic to attacking other religions. So you're going to say, "Oh, the reason I'm a Muslim is because of other religions," and try to shift the topic when the question is, why? What is there that makes you believe that Islam is true? If that's your actual argument, then it's the stupidest argument anyone's ever offered for anything.
No,
This would be like me saying, "Hey, do you know why I believe this guy's really smart? Because everyone else is so stupid." Well, knowing that everyone else is so stupid does not tell you this. This tells you nothing about whether this guy's smart. If you want to say this guy, if you want to say this, no, it isn't. No, it isn't, because that tells you nothing about whether Islam has good arguments. If you say, "Hey, look at all this stupid stuff in all these religions, therefore Islam is true." Well, why not say, "Hey, look how stupid religions are, therefore Mormonism is true, or therefore atheism is true."
I am making comparison between Islam and other religions.
Okay, so why believe that Islam is the truth?
Because in Islam we don't worship a Middle Eastern man.
Well, atheists don't worship a Middle Eastern man too. I guess atheism is true. Do you understand what just happened? You said, "Oh, because we don't have this, therefore we're the truth." Well, atheists don't have that either. So
yeah,
you can't, dude. I mean, like, seriously, we're not even interested in having this conversation. If your argument is this stupid, hey, I don't like that from that religion, therefore my religion, which I will not say give any reason to think is true, must be true. That is so insanely stupid. That is such dumb reasoning. Again, that's like saying, "Oh, look, here's a bunch of really weak guys, therefore this guy is strong." And I say, "Why do you think he's strong? What evidence do you have? How much can he bench? How do you know he's strong?" No. Look at this other guy. He's really weak. Okay, let's say that other guy's weak. Why do you think this guy's strong? What evidence do you have? What can he lift? How much can he squat? Why do you think this guy's strong? Nothing to do with that guy. It's this weak guy who convinces me that this guy's strong. That makes zero sense and sounds absolutely insane. And really, I can't figure out if you actually believe that argument, or if you really just want to change the subject because you know, like every Dawah guy out there, that you can't possibly defend your religion by giving anything remotely resembling an actual argument. So why should you believe that Islam is true?
Because it has a lot of proofs that support Islam.
Give us your best one. Give us your best proof that Islam is true. Your top one, or number one. If you made a top 10 list of all the awesome proofs for Islam, what would be at the top of the list?
How Quran is well preserved.
Nice.
Wait. So hang on. Just to be clear, you got this book that Muhammad is delivering. And so he's delivering it to his followers, and he's receiving his revelations over a period of 23 years. And eventually they realize, hey, we're reciting this Quran differently. And then his response is, oh yeah, because Allah revealed it in a bunch of different ways. That's why we're reciting the Quran in different ways.
Yeah, but at least,
hang on. And then so the next generation passes it on, and then they end up with so many differences in their Qurans that Uthman has to say, the Caliph Uthman has to say, everyone hand over your Qurans because I have to burn them all to cover up all these differences. And then so he standardizes the Quran and supposedly issues like an authoritative Quran, and even that one doesn't last. And you end up with all these different kirat, and then they have to say, oh, there's 7 kirat, there's seven of the official Qurans, and then they change that to 10, and then they have to keep doing that. And you look at different Qurans today, and they don't line up, and they actually contradict themselves. But just to be clear, that's your I asked you for your number one best reason to believe in Islam, and that giant mess of trying to preserve the Quran is your proof. Ubay ibn Ka'b said that 200 verses were lost just from Surah 33 alone, because the only people who had those passages memorized were dying in battle. How is this proof?
The Quran collected just after 10 years from the death of Prophet Muhammad. Not like the Christianity, where they collect the Christianity.
The Da Vinci Code was written in the lifetime of Dan Brown, the author, and therefore that would make it even more true, right? Because you're saying, oh, look, isn't it amazing that the Quran is compiled early after Muhammad? What does that have to do with anything? And almost any book ever that's written by someone is written by a person during that person's time, and you're saying, but Islam's book was put together later. Okay, what in the name of common sense does that have to do with this being evidence?
That happened after 10 years from death of Prophet Muhammad.
Why are you shouting, Mustafa?
I'm not shouting. I'm calm.
That's better. Okay.
Go ahead.
Muhammad had one job, to collect the Quran in his lifetime. Why did we even waiting 10 years after? Did he have
Prophet Muhammad didn't collect the Quran.
Why
the
not?
person who collected the Quran was...
Yeah, but I'm asking, why not? Why didn't Muhammad tell his followers to collect the Quran while he's there so he can correct them?
Because he just finished the Quran and then he died immediately. So
as soon as he finished the Quran, the last verse came, he died like this.
He died after a couple months or even less.
Okay, so as the revelation was coming, why didn't they just write it so that with the last verse they would have finished and no problem? Did he have any other job? Like,
have you heard about the Hajjat al-Wada'?
I don't know what this has anything to do with anything, but yeah, okay, I've heard Hajjat al-Wada'.
At this Hajj, revealed the last verse of Quran. Everybody knows this.
Okay, so why did they wait 10 years to make the Quran then?
Because it was a kind of mess in the Islamic world. They trying to agree on one leader.
There was a cannabis in the Islamic world?
A mess.
Not a mess, not a huge mess. It was they were arguing about who's gonna be the caliphate of the Islamic Ummah.
Okay, so those companions, beautiful Sahaba, instead of caring about the Quran, the book, they were more caring about the power who's going to be caliphate, correct?
Yeah, but they were trying to settle the things down.
Okay, so they care more about power and settling things down than the book of Allah, which is more important than everything.
Yeah, they gathered all the memorizers and they wrote it in one book that everybody agreed on.
Memorizers? Didn't all the memorizers die in the battle?
Died, not died. They were writing down the scripture in papers. And
Mustafa, who was the one responsible for compiling the Quran? You said 10 years later. Who was responsible for that?
Umar and Uthman.
Omar. Okay, well, who do they ask to do it though? Who do they ask to do this job?
The people who were with Prophet Muhammad when he was reciting to them the Quran.
But they asked one particular person that they tasked with the job, and he had an objection. You know Zayd bin Thabit?
I mean, there are multiple of them.
Mustafa, do you know Zayd bin Thabit?
I've heard of his name, yeah.
Oh, you heard of his
you
name?
just his name?
Are you a new Muslim or something? Oh, no, Zayd.
No, I am a Muslim.
Zayd,
Like,
okay, so Zayd, do you know what he said when he was asked to compile the Quran?
what?
He said, "How can you ask me to do something that Muhammad didn't do?"
Yeah, but
To him, he said, "This is a bid'ah. This is something, an innovation."
You know
no,
what bid'ah means?
no. The bid'ah was the only bid'ah was the sunnah. The sunnah was a bid'ah to write it in the times of Caliphate Umar.
Okay, so do you know that what happens to people of bid'ah? Do you know what Muhammad said about bid'ah? That ends in hellfire. Do you know?
I know
Anyone who
the
makes
bid'ah,
bid'ah?
but collecting the Quran is not a bid'ah. Collecting the
But you
sunnah
just
is
said
the bid'ah.
okay, so whoever did this bid'ah end up in hell. So does that mean the companions end up in hell?
Yeah, you can. Maybe Bukhari did the bid'ah, not the caliphates.
Okay, so the Bukhari is now in hell, correct? Because he did bid'ah.
We're not sure.
What?
But you just
Wait,
said.
so you're the only information you have about this story, primarily it's coming from Abu Bukhari. So, and now you're saying Abu Bukhari, he's probably in hell?
Muhammad said every bid'ah is in hell. That's what Muhammad said. Bukhari
Yeah,
himself said that.
Yeah, but Al-Bukhari collected the Quran after hundreds of years from the death of Prophet Muhammad. And
wait 1 second. Bukhari collected the Quran.
I mean the Sunnah.
Okay, so the whole Sunnah is bid'ah.
No, at the times when he was collecting it, he faced a lot of challenges.
Okay, so is he wrong or right?
Both, I guess.
You guys ridiculous. How right?
There's some sense of collecting the Sunnah, like how to pray, how to do stuff. Yeah, but there's an insane hadiths in Sunnah. Not gonna lie, but we can argue that it's a weak hadith, so we cannot take it seriously.
So Bukhari narrated weak hadiths.
Who?
Bukhari. Did Bukhari narrate weak hadiths?
I don't know.
So how can you talk to us then if you don't know?
You know, the same people who are compiling these hadith are the same people who compiled the Quran. So if you don't trust Bukhari,
they were corpse when the Sunnah was collecting.
They were corpse. You mean dead?
Yeah, they were bones.
Okay. Are they alive now?
No.
So why do you take anything from them?
Why would you take anything from Christianity then?
It's your argument. You said because they're popes, Bukhari shouldn't have taken anything from.
Yeah, but the Sunnah is separated thing from the Quran. They are not the same thing.
Okay, so how do people know the Quran?
Because if the Sunnah was the exact same like the Quran, we would be reciting Sunnah when we are praying.
No, what I mean is Quran is you get verse from someone who tells someone who tells someone, correct?
No, the Quran up to 10 years. You don't have to tell someone to tell someone to tell someone. 10 years is not a long time.
Okay, so 10 years, you told us busy with doing other things.
Yeah, but 10 years is not a long time, like 250 years, right?
Okay, so Mustafa, do you have a Quran with you? Do you have a Quran with you? Arabic Quran?
I have.
You speak Arabic, right?
I do.
Okay, can you pull up your Quran, just first couple of pages, and it's going to give you an isnad for this Quran that you have. Do you know?
I don't have a physical copy with me right now.
Okay, like if I show you the chain of narration that the Quran relies on, because you're saying, oh, you don't need one because it's only within 10 years, but yet every single Quran says this comes from this person, from this person, from this person, from this person, all the way back to Muhammad. So are you aware of this? Are you aware of the chain of transmission for the Quran or no?
No, we don't have in Quran. There's no like an. There's no such a thing.
So if there's no an, then how do you know what you have in your hand is from anyone? Of course, there is a chain.
I mean, that's what proves, not what disproves.
No, you said there is no isnad for the Quran. How can that be?
Isnad. If there was an isnad, that there must be a multiple copies of Quran.
Exactly.
There are, and
exactly.
there are.
Thank you.
They're not. They're absolutely not.
Yes, there absolutely are.
They're called different names. Have you heard of Hafs Quran?
Yeah, but it's The way how
Have you heard of
you
Warsh?
the way how you say the letters, the tashkil, the not
Okay.
the
We can get into that later in terms of the content, but the point is that you have different Qur'ans that all have different chains of narration.
They all have different isnads. Did you know that?
yeah, but it's not like the hadiths where they would
It's
Aisha
exactly like
and
that.
Yeah, it is. Isnad
Abu
basically means chain.
Huraira.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
it's
like this.
exactly like that.
So I can't believe I'm telling about your religion. The whole promise of your religion is that we can trace things back to Muhammad through people.
Yeah.
Through ilm al-rijal, through the science of man. Did you know about that?
Yep, but when you compare Quran to Christianity, it's
No, I don't.
Stop
saying Christianity. I'm telling you what your religion is, because obviously you don't know anything. You didn't even know there was a isnad for the Quran, which is terrible.
So why don't you want me to bring the Bible?
You don't have respect for your own Quran, that you don't even go to page 1 and see what your isnad is, and you want to talk about the Bible. It's terrible. If you open your
Define
Quran, it tells you go this person to Hafs at the end. Did you know that?
So
that's called the isnad of the Quran. The fact that you don't know is terrible. That means anyone
No,
can
I
give
know, but
that
I'm not
means
like
I can
very
give
knowledgeable about
you know
this.
what that means? That means I can give you a book and pretend it's the Quran, and you just take it from me. You don't ask me where I got it from.
Yeah,
That's
but there's no
but
difference.
what? Yeah, but that's terrible. That means you have no respect for your Quran.
No, I have a full respect to Quran. Don't get me wrong.
But you don't know the isnad of the Quran, though, do you? We are gonna have to tell you.
Tell me the isnad of the Quran then.
Yeah,
all right. We're just getting on the screen for you.
So I'm really surprised. You said that there's no chain of narration in the Quran. There's no on some from so and so from so and so so and so. Right? You really believe that? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. This is just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna put it on the screen here, and we'll show you.
Yeah, you got taught about your Quran from.
Guys, you have double standard. Why don't you see the Bible? You have double standard here.
All right, let's go.
Okay, hold on. So you see the screen?
Okay.
Okay.
Can you read it?
Can you read this?
Can you read?
Okay. كتب هذا المصحف الكريم وضبط على ما يوافي رواية حفص الأسدي
الأسدي الكوفي لقراءة عاصم.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's
no. Don't say it's this. Read it.
You said there's no chain. There's no on. So can you read it? Can you read it out loud for us?
Yeah.
I want people to hear. If you guys can hear him.
Okay, I can. I see a lot of names here.
Yeah,
okay.
Go on.
What's before the names?
Yeah, right here. What is this?
رواية حفص بن سليمان بن المغيرة الأسدي الكوفي لقراءة عاصم. يعني this is a قراءات.
Keep reading.
عاصم بن النجود الكوفي التابعي عن أبي عبد الرحمن عبد الله.
عن what? What does عن mean?
Okay, but this is different in the hadiths.
Let me just explain in English. Okay, so what he was saying was that the Quran doesn't have this chain of narration like the hadith. He's saying even in Bukhari, he waited hundreds of years. This guy could be in hellfire. And if you look at the chains of narration for the hadith, they all say from this person, from this person, from this person, from this person. But he said the Quran doesn't have that. Okay. So what we did was we brought him his Quran, and it has on from this person, from this person, from this person. So now you should throw this out, just like you throw out the hadith. Thank you.
No, but this an is way different than the an in the Sunnah.
It's the same thing.
Is it the same word or not?
Why would they? Yeah, but this has nothing to do with telling the Quran. It's the way how you say the letters.
What is okay, look.
Yeah, رواية حفص بن سليمان.
What does that mean?
What is رواية?
رواية حفص. What does that mean?
Okay, do you mind if you define riwayah?
Yeah. So this is Hafs's narration. Literally, that's what it means.
Yeah.
It means it's Hafs's narration of his reading of the Quran.
Like any hadith, it would start with rawi, the person who narrated the hadith. Same thing here in the Quran. There's riwayah, the person who narrated this chain, and here it says Hafs, and then it says
he's the Rawi.
He's the Rawi, and
Yeah.
then the person he took it from was Asim, and then the person he took it from was Abi Abdurrahman as-Sulami,
Yeah.
and then he took it from Uthman, and then Ali and Zayd, the person that you only knew the name, and then it goes to Ubay ibn Ka'b, which is another name you should know,
and then
and from the Prophet. This is the chain from your Prophet all the way to Hafs.
And that's exactly what the hadith
Yeah,
look like.
but the irony is they didn't start from the Prophet Muhammad like they did in the Sunnah.
Yes,
So
What-
this
what-
has nothing to do with the telling the Quran.
No, look at the last line. You said it doesn't
Why-
go to the Prophet.
What does it say
Why
here?
didn't they start from Prophet Muhammad?
Mustafa,
You're being deceptive. What is this word here?
at the very bottom line, you said it doesn't go to the Prophet.
What is it?
You-
Just read it for the people because they don't know Arabic. What is this?
Yeah, but I don't see the name
read
of
it,
Prophet
read
Muhammad
it.
here.
Don't say but. Just read it so people know what we're talking about. What is this?
What do you want me to read?
Okay, you
The
said
last line.
you said that it doesn't go back to the Prophet like the hadith. So what we're saying is read the last line of this isnad. What does it say?
Amin Ka'b an Nabi. Okay, but
exactly.
What is
different
An
argument.
Nabi
This is
mean?
different
One second.
argument.
What does An Nabi mean? Just for people as well. They don't know Arabic. What does it mean?
Yeah, but this is
What does it mean? I don't want to hear yeah, but please, so that we don't kick you for being deceptive. What does An Nabi mean?
From the Prophet.
Okay,
Thank you.
you said that this is not like the hadith because the hadith say, "Oh, from the Prophet, from the Prophet." This says from the Prophet. So this is your Quran. If you had your Quran with you, this is exactly what it would say if you're reading the Hafs Quran. It says this person learned it from this person, who learned it from this person, who learned it from Muhammad.
So if you think it's bid'ah for Bukhari to have taken it hundreds of years later from people, you should also throw the Quran in the bin because it's the same chains.
Because
but this answer is different. They're not talking about how the ayahs, the verses.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Okay, so show me the difference between different riwayas.
Oh,
if you don't mind.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Do you really
Give me one difference.
Okay, great. I'll give you one difference.
So what happens if we show you a difference? You're gonna leave Islam or what?
Show me a major, like a huge difference, not a tashkil or something like that.
Okay, what is the major difference?
What's the major difference? Do you want to see contradiction?
Like, show me a whole verse removed, a whole verse changed, that whole verse added. Show me something like this.
Wait. So what if we show you missing words?
Is that enough?
Is it enough to show you a missing word?
Word?
Yeah, a word.
Word is not enough. Show me verses.
So a word is not enough.
So who told you what's
Show
enough
me verses.
1 second. Who told you what's enough and what isn't? So you don't care about one word from Allah just missing, just like
because the word, it might the meaning of the word changes by a dot or by
I have examples. I just want to know what you thought. So according to you, do you think that the first? Do you think that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? Do you think that that's a verse in the Quran?
No, this is how to start the reading.
So you don't think it's a verse, right?
So it's not from Allah.
I don't know if it's a verse or not, but it's good to start.
You just said show us an
Okay,
example
hold on.
where they differ on a verse, and now you don't even know if it's a verse or not.
Okay, so
yeah, but it's you have to say it before saying any ayahs.
Okay, so is it from Allah, came from the mouth of Jibril as Quran or not?
Yep, yeah.
Okay, so that's what you believe. Okay, great. So now we're gonna go to your scholars and we're gonna show that some of these readings, some of these readers of the Quran, some of the qira'at, for example, do not consider that the Bismillah at the beginning, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, is not part of the Quran. So you said, show me an example where they differ on a verse, right?
Okay, we'll show you.
Yeah, but when you see the Quran, when you start reading the Quran, you see Bismillah is on a different place. It's not with the other ayahs.
Oh, I see. Shall we show you then that that's not the case?
So yeah, I mean,
I mean, it depends which Quran. Some Quran is like that, and other Qurans it's like you say. Some Qurans they say this is verse 1, and some Qurans say it's not verse 1.
Yeah.
Shall we show you or what?
Verse 1? What do you mean verse 1?
Like in Surah Al-Fatiha?
I'll show you. Let's put our screen up here. One second. Life. Okay, let's go further. This one here.
Okay. Do you see that?
One second. Life. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So I just want to put it up. So you see this one? This is Warsh, okay? Can you see the top right part of the screen?
Might be a bit.
Okay.
Warsh on Nafa? Okay, good. Now you see the beginning. What's the first ayah in this Quran? What's the first verse?
The Fatiha.
Yeah. What's
It's
the first
the
verse?
Fatiha.
Yeah. What can you say it to everyone?
What's the first verse?
Bismillah. Okay.
No.
No, that's not the first. That's not a verse. What's the first verse? Where's the number?
It's small. I see in my phone. I can. Can you zoom in?
Okay, here we go. Can you see this?
Can you zoom, please?
I can't zoom further than this. This is the best I can do.
Maybe
I swear God, I can't see any the small numbers.
So I don't know what to say. So
maybe take a screenshot for him.
okay,
Okay, I can see. I can see now.
Okay,
I see number one.
Okay, this one it says number 1, right?
Okay,
for the first verse.
Okay.
Okay, correct.
What's the first verse? Can you read it to us?
So just so everybody's clear, because we don't want to lose people because we're doing Arabic and English. So for this Quran, what is the first verse and what is the second verse?
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim.
No.
What's the first verse and what's the second verse?
Bismillah. Okay. Bismillah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim.
Is the first verse, right? According to this Quran.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Okay, great. So the first verse is in the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful, right? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, right? That's the first verse. Okay. Now the second verse is what? Alhamdulillah, right? Alhamdulillah.
No, it's
that's
Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. It's Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim.
Okay.
No, it's not Rahman Ar-Rahim.
That's the third
one.
That's the third verse.
By the way, the way you tell when you read the Quran, what the verse is, number 1 comes at the end of the verse towards the left. You see the in the circle. In the circle.
I can see the number 1 and 2 and 3. Yep.
Yeah, okay, you can see them. Okay, so now, so just to be clear for everybody here, so the first verse in this Quran is in the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful. That's the first verse. Now, if we go to, and this is from the Hafs Quran, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, if we go to the Warsh Quran, now the first verse is now praise to the Lord of the world. It's not in the name of Allah, the most merciful. That's not the first verse.
Can you show us?
It's right on the screen.
It's right here.
I see the same copy.
Is it the same? Where's the number 1? Where's the number 1?
Maybe it's. I see the same page. Nothing changed.
Okay, so you can't see the difference between this one. I feel like I'm like at a appointment checking your eyes. Okay, can you so what I'll do is I'll go to this book here called the 14 Readings. Just so we don't, because I think I made the point other people can see. This is what the scholar says. And can you see the name of the scholar here? He's an Egyptian scholar. I don't know if you know him or not, but he says that all scholars agree that the Bismillah is a part of the verse in the Quran, chapter 27, verse 30. So everybody,
it's not changing. You might want to refresh or something. It's not. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I'm live with you right now. Yeah.
Okay, you guys can see that.
Yeah, now
I see.
I can see that.
Okay, so
I see the same page.
Okay, well, okay.
It takes a second. Just give it a second.
Okay. So okay, I'll just make this point. I'll pass it over to David. So I just want to be clear that when the Bismillah at the beginning, the Imam Malik did not. I'm reading from the second paragraph here. Did not consider it to be a verse of any surah. So Imam Malik did not consider it to be a verse. Shafi'i and Ahmed considered it to be a verse that is part of every single surah except Bara'ah, which is chapter 9. And then Abu Hanifa considered it to be independently revealed, like as a separator between verses. So the point here is that Imam Malik did not consider the Bismillah to be a verse in the Quran.
So let me
you asked us.
Let me clarify something here.
You asked us where they differ on verses in the Quran.
So let me clarify something.
Some people consider it part of the Quran, and some people reject it.
Okay. Let me clarify something.
He doesn't.
Okay, let's start from this. What is qira'at means? It means
Oh,
the different recitations of modes of reading the Quran that
I even
have
have
been
that in
transmitted
book as well.
through authentic chains of narration.
So he's just reading now. He's just reading now.
reading a
He's
script.
yeah. He's going back to the
Don't
script.
forget the part authentic.
Mm.
Yeah. So anyway, so just to be clear, I'll just wrap up and I'll pass it over to David because I don't think he's just reading the script now. But basically, he said that the Quran was written down 10 years after Muhammad died, and then he said that it's not like the Hadith. The Hadith can be weak, even a Bukhari. Maybe he's in hell. And he said that the Quran doesn't have a chain of narration like the Hadith. The Hadith relies on so and so heard it from so and so, heard it from so and so to Muhammad, to the Prophet of Islam, and the Quran doesn't do that. So we show him that the Quran does do that. So he should have rejected the Quran or said maybe the Quran or these people are in hell, just like Bukhari. Then he said, okay, show me a difference between the different readings where they differ on a verse. Okay,
Okay.
so we showed him that some of the readers believed that the Bismillah is part of the Quran, and some of them said it's not part
Can
of the
you
Quran.
can you let me show you some difference?
What's that?
Can you let me show you a difference between the different qira'ahs?
Oh, Surah different. Surah, they are different now.
Not different qira'ahs.
preserved.
Like do you have problem hearing me? Qira'ahs.
Yeah, I know that. Qira'at is just a cop out for different Qur'ans.
Okay.
'cause we don't know which
Okay,
one.
hold on. Malik
know what you
Yawm
mean.
al-Din and Malik Yawm al-Din. That's a different
Yeah.
qira'at, but the same meaning.
No, it's not the
It's
same
not the same-
meaning.
no, it's
Who
not.
told you it's the same meaning?
Malik is king.
Like Malik and Malik, the owner and the king. I mean, it's not a
Exactly.
huge, insane difference.
Wait, what did the Tabari say? Do you go by scholars or do you just go by your own opinion?
No, it's the Hafiz riwayah and the Warsh riwayah.
I know that, but what do your scholars say about that? What does, for example, Tafsir al-Tabari say?
Do they think
My
it's a small
scholars have no problems with this.
Oh, so does he think it's a small difference or a big difference? The Tabari.
It's not a small, it's a tiny difference.
Okay,
Tiny,
look,
okay.
Mustafa, I don't know if you can hear us or not. What we're asking you is, if we go to al-Tabari right now and we show you that al-Tabari didn't say it's a small difference, but he said one of them is correct and the other one is less correct than the other one, what would you say about that?
Yeah, but all I'm hearing from the scholars that they have no problem with the qira'ahs. In the reciting tournaments, have you ever seen the reciting tournaments?
I don't care about the tournaments.
You're
man.
not answering the question. You're not answering the question. The question is, if we can show you a Tabari, and a Tabari says that one of the readings, Malik or Malik, one of those readings is better than the other reading, what would you say about that?
He didn't say.
Yeah, but he didn't cancel the whole reading.
He's not.
He can't cancel. He just can give an opinion, and he didn't say tiny difference. He said one is wrong and one is right. That's what he said. Do you want us
no,
to show
he
you,
said-
or do you want to run
No.
away from it now?
He said one is better than the other, not one is
Yes.
false and one is correct.
No, not better. He said more correct. One was more correct than the other one.
More correct, which means one is false and one is more correct.
Okay, so what is the problem here?
You said tiny difference.
You said no. First, you said they're the same thing.
Yeah,
And
but
then you said tiny difference, and now you say one is more correct. So how do we believe anything you say?
okay, you have a correct and more correct, not wrong and right.
So how can they both be from God if one of them is more correct than the other one?
Was Allah in a better having a better day the time he gave that one qira'ah, and then had a less better day on the other time? Or what?
Yeah, but that but this is like that doesn't destroy the argument here.
Mustafa, how can they both be from God if one of them is more correct than the other one?
Yeah, they should both be perfect.
Like the tashkil is not a big deal in my eyes.
It's not a tashkil. Harf al-alif is not tashkil.
Yeah,
it's
Malik
an,
and
it's an
Malik.
alif.
You know, you're an Arab. You don't know the difference between Malik and Malik is a whole alif. It's not tashkil.
Yeah, but when I see someone is the owner of something, something is a king of something.
Okay. We're just
You're
we're
just
talking past.
you're trolling us at this point.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead, David.
Oh no, it's a general principle. If someone's cooking, don't stop them from cooking.
Okay.
No, you guys, and this is actually a perfect example. Both these discussions have been. So we asked both the people we've had discussions with, like, what is your what do you think is the best argument or the best evidence, or what is it that convinces you? And we got embryology in the Quran. Now, we could have gone into way more detail than we did, but it became very clear that we were talking to someone who knows nothing about what the Quran says and knows nothing about embryology, right? So think about that, because it ties directly into what we were saying earlier. Who do these arguments appeal to? If you're a Dawah guy and you're using this argument, chances are you don't even believe in your arguments, but you've got regular people who do. And it sounds like the guys we were talking to are just regular people who heard this stuff from the Dawah guys and used it in their arguments and haven't caught on to the fact that there's a reason the Dawah guys stopped using these exact two arguments, the preservation of the Quran and the so-called scientific miracles of the Quran. But notice how this ties into exactly what we're saying. Who's still using these arguments? People who don't know anything about them. They don't know about Islam, and they don't know about the topic they're addressing. And so we saw that with embryology, because guys, you guys know the Quran, especially on embryology, is a scientific disaster. Anything that Muhammad could possibly have said to have gotten right. In other words, if you go with the translation that the Dawah guys want, and they say, oh, don't translate it like this, the main translation, go with this, and so on. Even if you go with all of it, you get stuff that was said by like Galen and Hippocrates and so on. And so this wouldn't have been amazing scientific knowledge. It would have been Muhammad giving the views of his day. With that said, whenever you can't go with the translation you want to get some idea that was circulating during Muhammad's time, whenever you don't have that, he gets it wrong. Muhammad gets it wrong. And if you combine the Quran with the Hadith, it's a giant mess. You get semen is formed between the backbone and ribs, according to one interpretation. Or if you go with another interpretation, this is talking about the semen of the man and the semen of the woman. And then these two semens mix together inside the woman, and then whichever rises to the top or whichever prevails over the other determines the sex of the child and determines whether the child is going to resemble the mother's family or the father's family, and so on. And then you've got the bones and the flesh and everything, and then you've got all these kinds of things where Muhammad says that the developing baby spends 40 days as a drop of sperm. And it's like, no, none of this is correct. No, he's not getting anything correct. And that somehow became people's main reason for believing in Islam. Muhammad gets all this stuff completely wrong, and our friend disappeared. It sounded like when he was going to look for the pictures to show us from Keith Moore's book that, hey, a leech looks kind of like this thing over here. That's what persuaded them. They were persuaded by complete, total deception of Dawah clowns from years ago. And it never crossed their minds at any point to look up any of this, to do the slightest bit of research. It's just, this confirms Islam, therefore I'm going to cling to it. So we saw that with embryology. And then, lo and behold, we asked Mustafa why he believes in Islam. And it's because of the perfect preservation or just the amazing preservation of the Quran. And what happened when Jai and DOC started asking him basic questions? He didn't know anything. He didn't know anything about the preservation of the Quran. What does this mean? He's saying, hey, this is why I believe in this religion. This is my main reason. I think this is the best reason to believe in Islam. The amazing preservation of this book. Oh, really? What do you know? Nothing. I know nothing about the preservation of the book. He didn't know basic terminology. He didn't know, he didn't even know about isnads and the Quran. He didn't know about any of this stuff. What's that mean? It means he's a guy who heard from someone that this is a great argument, and yet he was completely ignorant. We pointed this out. The arguments only work in an atmosphere of complete ignorance. They don't work anywhere else. They don't work if you know what you're talking about. They don't work at all if you have any clue what you're talking about. And what's the response? Aha, we can prove you wrong. We've got the preservation of the Quran. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea about the history of the Quran. I have no idea about anything, but this is the evidence. Who uses these arguments? People who are massively deceptive, so Dawah guys who still use these in an atmosphere of ignorance, and people who are just actually ignorant and they have no idea about the actual topic, and so they just go with what they've heard. And this is Dawah, ladies and gentlemen. This is you are getting you are getting a perfect image of what Dawah is. These guys were told, hey, here's great evidence. We asked them basic questions. They have no clue what they're talking about. These are who these arguments work with. People who know, they don't know anything about a topic. What does this say about Dawah? Why is it never, ever, ever someone who is accurately translating the Quran, who knows about the history of the Quran, who knows about embryology, who knows about any of these topics, defending the argument against people who also know these topics? That's what you don't see. Why? Can only conclude that Dawah is deception.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
I just want to say something about the preservation of the Quran. Uthman bin Affan, when he burned the other copies of the Quran, he did it because he have what was written at the time of Prophet Muhammad. At the time of Prophet Muhammad, there were 43 companions who used to write the Quran in front of Prophet Muhammad. And those which was written at the time of Prophet Muhammad, they was put at his house of Aisha. Then after Islam spread across different countries, some people, each one teaching other from memorization. Uthman bin Affan see that some of them their memorization is wrong. So he goes, bring what they write, compare it to what the people write at the time of Prophet Muhammad. So he burned the other things that was not 100% from Prophet Muhammad, and the ones that was at the house of Aisha, the wife of Prophet Muhammad, spread it over the others empire or the others country of Islam.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Okay, the copies that he burnt, what city were they in?
It's not, I think Iraq, maybe.
That's not
But
true.
it's not.
He burnt the copies in
Even
Medina. That's not true, Abdurrahman. The copies that he burnt were the copies of the other companions in Medina. Did you know that?
yes. Even
Okay,
if
yes,
it
so you
was
agree
in
with me.
Iraq.
1 second. I'll just go bit by bit because I'm half brain. I'm really slow. So
Okay.
what Uthman did, he had his copy, I agree. Okay. The copies of the companions were different. The companions which were also written at the time of Muhammad were different from his. So he burnt
No.
them over his own, correct?
The other companions did not write it from Prophet Muhammad.
But you
Not
just told us,
everyone used to
you
write.
just told us, 1 second, slowly. You told us that other people around Muhammad were writing the Quran, correct?
43.
Not any people. Yes,
Who?
43 and not
Who
see
are these? 1 second. Which city was Muhammad in when he said the Quran?
Medina and Mecca.
Medina, right. The companions, the best people in the world, around in his generation, they wrote down the Quran around him, correct?
No. The 43 from them,
Okay.
not all of them at the same time they are writing. Like
Okay, I
Prophet
agree.
Muhammad
I
said,
agree. They all wrote at different times, but they were all in the same place around Muhammad in Medina.
No. Not
Where
all
were
of
they?
them
Muhammad
read
was
the
only
full
in Medina.
Quran.
1 second. Muhammad only was lived in Medina. He didn't travel to Iraq.
Medina and Mecca.
Medina and Mecca.
Mecca.
Okay, but he
Yes.
died in Medina, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The companions that were with him in Mecca, they immigrated to Medina. So the same group of people went with him to Medina. They were all around him.
Yes,
Okay.
I
Those
understand you,
people,
but
okay,
Prophet
those,
Muhammad,
1 second, because I don't want to go here and there. These people around Muhammad in Medina wrote different parts of the Quran different times. They all had different copies, correct?
not on their house they have the copies.
Okay, where
They
did they
only
have the
write
copies?
it
Where did they have
in
the
the house
copies?
of Aisha.
Okay, all those copies were in the house of Aisha, or they were all different places?
No, all in the house of Aisha.
Okay.
Except for the ones that people write it from memorization.
Okay. And then Uthman came and all those copies written in Medina, in Aisha's house or whatever,
Yes.
he burnt them, even though they were written by the hands of the companions, and he kept his own copy.
The copy of Prophet Muhammad. Yes, he kept
Okay.
the
So Uthman,
Not copy of Muhammad.
yeah, it's the copy of Uthman because Muhammad couldn't read and write. Muhammad
Yes.
didn't write it. Uthman heard
But
it.
they,
He wrote his own copy, and then other
no, I
people
did not write.
wrote other copies, and whatever copy he chose, he called it Uthmani.
Mhm.
Those other
So,
companions, which just as good as him, he burnt their copies because they were
no,
different
no,
from
no,
his, and they was all in Medina.
no.
Okay.
See, Prophet Muhammad at the last days of his life, the
Yeah.
final revelation came to him.
Mhm.
At the final revelation, they write all the copies.
Mhm.
They,
No, they
you
didn't.
Is
know,
that right?
nasakh wal mansukh. They determine which one is nasakh, which one is mansukh.
Mhm.
They establish only the ones. They establish all the sevens,
Mhm.
and before Prophet Muhammad died, put all those at
They
his house.
established what? They established what? All 7, you said?
All seven, yes.
7 what? You're talking about ahruf?
No, seven Hafs and Warsh.
Oh.
Hafs didn't even exist.
Hafs wasn't there for hundreds of years.
Yes, I
You know when Hafs was born?
we name
What year was Hafs born? 1 second. Again,
we
my
we
half brain
name
is passing. What year was Hafs
we
born?
name.
Come on, DOC.
I
You know Hafs
I
had a
don't
time
know.
machine.
Yeah, what year was Hafs born? Hafs and
It
Asim.
was not.
What year
It
was he
was not.
born?
It was not named by Hafs because it was at the time of Hafs.
Okay.
It didn't
It didn't
exist. It didn't exist. There was no such thing as Hafs before Hafs, okay? Let me just be clear on something. So you're stating that, but by the way, do you think that the 7 readings are the same thing as the ahruf?
What do you mean by Ahraf? Ahraf
What
mean
do I mean?
You're the Muslim.
That's a great question. What does any Muslim mean by
That's a
ahruf?
very great question that no one will ever be able to answer.
Yeah, exactly. So what you tell us, you're the Muslim. What does ahruf mean?
letters.
No. When Muhammad said Sabat ahruf, the 7 ahruf, what is he referring to? That the Quran was revealed in 7 ahruf. What does that mean?
I don't know. I know that it was
Okay.
7.
I'll give you. Okay. So
it's not letters. Just to establish, and the answer is you don't know.
Yeah.
By the way, Hafs, for people who don't know, was born 100 whole years after Muhammad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Abdurrahman, so you said that you don't know, but if you go to the hadith, you see Omar and Hisham differing with each other about their reading of Surah Al-Furqan. And
Yes.
so Omar grabs Hisham by the neck. He very violently grabs him. He drags him to Muhammad, and he says to him, he's reciting this chapter of the Quran differently than how you taught me.
Yes.
Okay. And then Muhammad says, okay, recite it. So then Hisham recites it. Then he says to Omar, okay, Omar, recite it. Omar recites it. They're different from each other. And Muhammad says that the Quran was revealed in 7 ahruf.
Yes.
So what does that
What is
mean?
the problem?
What does it mean?
7 different way of reciting the Quran. Sometimes they have different from each other, but we accept all the 7 different.
Do these 7 exist when Uthman was burning the Qurans?
Yes.
Do all 7
words
of the
exist.
ahruf are in existence, or is only one of them in existence? Did Uthman burn 7 of the ahruf, or 6, or did he burn any of them, or just burn one? What did he burn?
The 7, like the companions that you telling me about, he said the 7 used to be at the time of Muhammad. All the 7.
So what did Uthman burn? Did he burn any of these 7?
Or do we have
No,
the 7 today?
We have the
he
7
didn't.
today.
Oh, we have the 7 today. Where are they?
The 7.
The 7 ahruf, where are they?
You mean Hafs and Warsh?
No. Where are the 7 that you're saying exist today? Where can we find them?
You know you mean the original?
Yeah, well, if you don't have the original, that's the problem.
We're not asking.
Then your preservation is in the bin.
We're not asking you for the manuscripts. What we're saying is, you said that the 7 ahruf are in existence today.
Yeah, where are they?
So where can we find them?
I told you before. I does not know what you mean by ahruf.
Well, it was Muhammad.
It's not what do I mean. Muhammad was the one who said that the Quran was revealed in 7 ahruf. He was the one who said
Yes,
that. Your scholars have no idea what
I
ahruf means.
understand. I understand from the word ahraf mean letters mean different way of recitation.
Okay, the Arabic language has 28 letters, so it doesn't mean letters like alif, bet,
Yes, yes,
It means
it's
something different. And we asked you what that
yes,
means. You said you don't know. You said that
yes.
those 7 ahrufs that you don't know about your Quran still
Mhm.
exist today, you said, because they weren't burned. So we're
I
asking you, where
said
do
the
we find them
seven.
today? Where do we
I
find these
said the
7
seven.
ahrufs today? Sorry?
I said the
Mhm.
seven way of reciting the Quran are still today.
Okay, where are
Where
they?
can we find them? That's what we want to know. Where can we find
The
them?
seven way of reciting the Quran.
Yeah,
Yes,
where are
where?
they? Where are they? Because I only heard I only heard one way growing up,
Which is it?
Well,
You tell us. Where can we find them?
No, no.
Muslims
Which
say
one you
there's
know?
one Quran. I only heard one way,
Yes.
but you say there's
Which
7
is
ways. So where are those 7?
no the ones that you heard about? What is which
Mhm.
is it? Which one?
Well, you tell me. You're the Muslim. I'm not Muslim anymore, so I don't have to
You
answer
said
these
you
questions.
said to
I'm
me one.
asking
You said
you.
to me one.
I'm asking you. Growing up, Muslims have said word for word, letter for letter, this book is it. You say
Okay.
now there are 7 ahruf, 7 different ways of reciting, and you
Seven
say
way,
that's why.
yes.
1 second, and you said that's why Hisham and Omar differed, and it was okay. Now I'm asking, where are these different 7 that you mentioned?
Different seven. If we
Mhm,
establish that those seven are the way of recitation, we
mhm,
have Hafs, we have
mhm,
Warsh, and
mhm.
other five I don't know
Okay,
their names.
so you think so that's what I
I
wanted to know. Do you think that the different readings that we have today, that the qira'at, that this is the ahruf, is that what you think?
I don't know. I already tell you I don't know.
How can you not know?
I
This is your Quran, and
This is what you came to argue
you
about.
came to tell us
I
about
came to
preservation.
argue
That's why we
about
respected you, because you seem to know Arabic. We respected you, and we said, okay, this person is going to solve the preservation issue. And you told us how Uthman burned some stuff. So we asked you what he burned. You said, no, 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 he didn't
yes,
burn the 7. The 7 are still here, but you can't name them. You can't tell us what they are.
yes.
You can
You
only say
have I named you two,
you
Hafs
named
and
2
Warsh.
out of 5. So Allah preserved 2 out of his 7. 7. Is that
You
right?
want me to give you the names?
Yes, and also where we can find them, because very important. Otherwise, we're missing 5 of your 7,
You can you
which is not
can
good for the
find them
preservation.
like for me. I live here
Where is
in
here?
in Saudi Arabia. I
Okay,
read Hafs when I
okay.
travel to
Great,
Algeria.
great. So this is beautiful. So you live in Saudi Arabia, and this is excellent because I actually have a ruling, a legal ruling, that during, and it's Ramadan as well. So this is beautiful.
Yes,
During the Tarawih prayer, you're not
yes,
allowed to recite certain versions of the Quran in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, you're not allowed warsh. You're not allowed
yes,
to recite
yes,
one.
Are you aware?
yes, yes. I'm aware of that. Let me tell you why.
Okay,
Because
tell us.
people used to hear this Hafs in Saudi Arabia, and it is for them because it is similar to how Saudi Arabia speak. Like Saudi Arabia people have the letter Hamza, so it's good for them to read Hafs. But you have in Algeria, we don't say the letter Hamza,
This
so
is
we
not
have
the reason.
Warsh.
This is not the reason.
Yes, yes, but why
Sheikh
it's why
the reason what he says this is the reason because Muslims get confused. That's
yes,
what he
yes.
said.
I was
It's not
going
just a
to
matter
tell
of
you this.
dialect. It's not just a matter of dialect. Like I'm speaking like American English. Daughter of Christ is speaking in British English. It's not just a matter of
Yes,
dialect. They said the reason why you're not allowed to do this is because people get confused. People,
yes,
we're
yes,
talking about Arabs from Saudi Arabia who speak Arabic as their mother language,
yes,
that they get confused when they hear all these different Qurans in Arabic. So
yes.
for you to
They
say that there's just
so
there's no problem here, there's just the same Quran, just different dialect here or there. This is nonsense. Even your own country, they banned different versions of the Quran.
I was going to tell you what you just said, that so that people focus, and if you hear different way of recite the Quran, it feels different. You can't
Yes,
focus
because they're
as
different meanings.
It feels different. I wonder, why would it feel different?
the sound different, and
Uh-huh.
way of reading it is different.
Okay. Do you want me to read to you the fatwa of Imam Sheikh Fawzan about what he actually said? He said it would cause tashwish ala al-musallin.
Yeah.
Allah,
You know,
yes,
do you know what?
yes,
Do you know what?
exactly.
Can you tell people what tashwish means?
I know tashwish what this mean in Arabic, but in
Yeah,
English,
I'll tell them. It means
Confusion.
confusion. They'll be confused and they'll start thinking that the qari is making mistakes.
The reader.
They'll start thinking the reader is making mistakes and they'll start being confused because it's so different from Hafs. That's why it's banned in your country.
yes, it is
One of
different.
those
During Tarawih
so
in the mosque.
no, Sheikh Fawzan said in any imam, he said it's forbidden. لا تجوز. He said لا تجوز قراءة الإمام في المسجد برواية غير حفص. He said it's not.
Yes,
It's forbidden. It's not allowed. Like it's so bad. The problem
but
is
why?
the difference.
Why it's
Because that's what he
why
said.
it was
Because
confused?
he said
Why?
it's not allowed for you to read by anything different than Hafs in this country because you're going to cause confusion to the people listening.
Yes.
Now, if
why?
it was just a dialect, like you said, Hamza, and that's not a big problem. That won't cause me any
Yeah.
tashwish. Would it cause you any
No,
tashwish?
it costs.
You reading?
Yes,
Would it
yes,
be
yes,
causing you a
yes, yes.
problem if you hear it a
I
different way?
yes, I did not complete my story. When I traveled to Algeria, they read in Warsh,
Mhm.
and
No, they read.
normal.
I think Qalun.
Yeah, they read a different one.
I think
A third one, actually.
I think it's Qalun in Algeria. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go
Yeah.
on. So, what was your experience when you heard a different Quran from Hafs? What happened?
Not different in meaning, just different in sound. This
Really?
is the only thing.
Really? So Malik and Malik are different in sound. They're not different in meaning.
They sometimes be different in meaning, and we accept all the meaning we accept them from God.
Okay. So you've admitted now that there are different meanings in the different Qurans, correct?
Yes, there is
Thank
some
you.
different meaning that we accept all of them from God.
Okay. So how is the Quran preserved?
Why don't we just get right to it? So, are there any contradictions between them?
No
contradictions. Now, if we
what
can show you, I want to test your honesty here. If we can show you a contradiction, what will you say if we show you a contradiction?
If you show me a contradiction, I will search about it, of course.
Okay. So, because we have other people here, David and AP, welcome AP, and we want to give time for them, but we want to show you real quickly a contradiction between them, and then we want to show your scholar admitting that it's a contradiction.
But before you show it to me, you say to me how the Quran is preserved. I answer you, it is preserved in the 7 forms.
The 7 that you can't tell us where they are.
You don't know what they are. Yeah.
And you can only
Do you
tell us
want
2
me-
that you think are. That's not
I-
good, man. But anyway,
don't
what I'm
memorize
gonna do
these
is-
names. Like,
let's show you the contradiction first, and then we can
we're
argue.
just going to show you this contradiction, and then you can interact with David or AP afterwards. So we have we have chapter 11 verse 81. Can you see it on the
Wait,
screen? Abdurrahman, can you see it?
let me. I'm still. Verse
81. Chapter 11 verse 81.
Yes.
Okay, can you see it on the screen here?
Yes.
Okay, I want you to. Can you read it for us?
قالوا يا لوط إن رسل ربك لن يصلوا إليك فأسر بأهلك بقطع من الليل ولا يلتفت منكم أحد إلا امرأتك إنه مصيبها ما.
Focus on the word.
Focus on امرأته.
Yes.
Okay. Do you see? Okay. Now that's good. So finish it off so you understand it. What's being said?
إنه مصيبة ما أصابهم إن موعدهم الصبح ليس الصبح بقريب.
Okay. Now, do you know the difference between the 2 that we have highlighted here? Imra'ataka, imra'atuka. Do you know the difference?
No.
Okay, no problem. No, we don't want to. We're not trying to embarrass you or something like that. But this is a grammatical difference, and we want to show you the difference here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to your scholar.
Shanqiti, have you heard of him?
Yeah, I heard of him. Yes.
So we have it in Arabic and in English. Good that you speak Arabic. So actually, what you read the top one in Arabic, and then we'll read it in English. Okay.
Which one?
You read the top in Arabic, and we'll read the English.
Okay.
Maybe read
You mean you want me to read البزي عن ابن كثير?
Do you see? No.
Oh wait,
You
hold on.
still
I
did
don't know
not
if it's
change the
loading.
page.
It's doing that thing again where it's not loading.
It taking some time.
Yes,
Okay, can
yes.
you see this? Muhammad Shinqiti?
Yes, I see it. You want
Mhm.
me to read this?
Yeah, read the Arabic and we'll read the English.
Yeah, maybe read the last two lines of the Arabic.
No, he needs to read the first one first so he can get the other
Okay,
one.
all right, let's go.
وقراءة الجمهور ما عدا ابن كثير أبا عمر إلا إشكال
لا
لا
إلا
إشكال
إشكال لا إشكال.
لا
There's no
إشكال
problem.
لأن الجمهور قرأوا ولا يلتفت منكم أحد إلا امرأتك وعلى قراءة النصب لا إشكال في الآية البتة وأن المعنى فأسر بأهلك بقطع من الليل إلا امرأتك فلا تسري بها فاتركها مع الهالكين إنه مصيبها ما أصابهم لأنها كافرة منهم
Okay,
أما على
now
قراءة
just hold on 1 second. Let me just do the English reading now so everyone can follow with us. So, guys, if people who are following with us, chapter 11, verse 81, this is their scholar, Muhammad Al Amin Ashanqiti. He said that the reading of the majority of readers, other than the reading of Ibn Kathir and Abu Amr, he says that there's no issue because the majority read, and let not any of you turn except your wife. And then he gives the grammatical breakdown because this is the accusative reading in the verse, the grammatical breakdown. He says, so the meaning is travel by night with your family in a portion of the night, travel with your family in a portion of the night, except your wife. And then he says, so do not travel with her. Leave her with the doomed ones. So the first reading, which is the majority reading, Lot is commanded by the angels, by Allah, to travel with his wife in a portion of the night and don't bring his wife with him. Okay? Is that clear?
yes,
Abdurrahman, you agree? That's clear?
yes, yes.
Okay, now read the second part. The second part. What does the other reading say?
أما على قراءة أبي عمر وابن كثير إلا امرأتك بالرفع ففي الآية إشكال متعارض مع قوله إلا امرأتك لأن قوله إلا امرأتك بالفتح يدل على أنه لم يسري بها وعلى قراءة إلا امرأتك يدل على أنه سرى بها وأنها لم يلتفت أحد إلا هي.
Okay, so then he says, as for the reading of Abu Amr in Ibn Kathir in the nominative case, except your wife, there is a contradiction in the verse, opposed to
Yes,
his saying, except your wife, because his saying, except your wife, with the fatha indicates that he did not travel with her, and the reading, except your wife, with the dhamma indicates he traveled with her, and none turn except her. So, guys, so just to be 100% clear, one of the readings, you have Lot being commanded to take his wife with him, and the other one is saying, don't take your wife with you. This is a contradiction. A Muslim scholar admits it's a contradiction.
So Abdurrahman, do you see it says ففي الآية إشكال متعارض?
I see
Yeah.
his
So
what he is saying. Yes,
yeah. So
I
what is
see
the
it, but
so can you 1 second? Can you confirm to the Arabs and non-Arabs that إشكال متعارض, إشكال means problem and متعارض means contradiction?
yes, I confirm that. But
Thank you.
me as a layman and normal Arabic speaker, with my 2 eyes, I can't see the difference. So of
Okay.
course
So,
I
do you
have
know Arabic
to.
better than Shanqiti? Do you know Arabic better than him?
Do you know the difference between
Wait, wait.
Fatha and
No, no.
Dhamma?
Do you know
Like,
Arabic better than Shanqiti?
see, guys. If someone don't complete his sentence, you don't understand me.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
was
Continue.
going to say it because I don't know Arabic to the level that I see contradiction only for a different in Dhamma and Fatham. I'm going to look at it.
Okay.
Okay, that's good.
And by the way,
So
that's a totally respectable position to say.
yes,
If you
yes.
get brought, especially if it's new information, you're not familiar with it, makes total sense to say, I'm going to look into this. So that's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what you can do is go back to the stream, screenshot it, look it up, and yeah, come to your own
Of course.
conclusions.
Yeah.
Could I ask something? Because I want, before I die, of course, to ask every single religion about every single proof they have. Okay?
Why don't you start
Then
with
I
Islam?
compare.
1 second. Why don't you start with Islam?
Yes,
Have
I'm
you
now
asked
because
1 second?
all of
Have you
you are
asked any Muslim? Have you asked any Muslim about to give you proof for Islam? I'm just interested.
yes.
Who have you asked? Who have you asked?
Too many. Like from my teacher personally or from others.
Okay, what questions have you asked about Islam?
Yeah, so you can ask David if he wants to the question. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
But before guys, because I tell you I want to ask every religion, I want you to give me the proofs of Christianity so that I go and check about Christianity if it is true. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're asking
want-
me, the proof that I would give you is there's a prophet named Isaiah, and the prophet Isaiah. I'll write it down for you in the private chat so you can look it up. Isaiah chapter 53. There's a prophecy.
Wait, listen me. Could you bring it to me because I don't have a Bible? But if you want to give me some times
Abdurrahman,
to bring the verse.
do you have access to maybe a Bible online? I know you're in Saudi; they don't allow physical Bibles.
Yeah, Abdurrahman, if you go to you can go to a website like BibleGateway.com or something like that. But there are tons of Bible websites. If you just do a search for a Bible website or something like that, plenty of websites will. So Giant DSC, if you want to just give them any references that you're looking, he can check them out. Just tell him how to find them.
Yeah, I would say start with Isaiah 53. Okay, I wrote it in the private chat for you, and I see that also someone else wrote it as well. 53, and you can, like David said, you can put it in a Bible Gateway, and on Bible Gateway you can read it in English or in Arabic, or whatever you feel comfortable reading it in, whatever you want to. And this is what you're going to find there is a beautiful prophecy. 700 years before the Lord Jesus came to earth, 700 years before he came to earth, you're going to find this prophecy that shows you exactly what he's coming to do. And then I want you to read the gospel, the Injil, and you're going to see, for example, the Gospel of John, Injil Yohanna, you can see that everything that this prophet said would happen was fulfilled in the life of Jesus.
This, do you have more?
That's
that's a
start with. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll give you I'll go in a different direction, Abdurrahman. But I have a video you can actually watch it because I grew up as an atheist, and this is actually a good this issue is kind of a good example of what we're talking about with Islam and Christianity. As an atheist, I started arguing with a Christian, and in order to respond to the Christian, I thought I could refute the resurrection of Jesus because I'm asking, hey, I'm asking exactly basically what you were asking. Like, hey, if your religion is true, what is the evidence for it, or what is the proof for it? And it was a Christian who was arguing that Jesus rose from the dead, and that this shows that he has like God's stamp of approval on him. So if that was his evidence, I thought, okay, well, if I look into this and refute this, then that would be the refutation of his evidence. So I looked into the resurrection of Jesus, and expecting to find either mainly that there's no evidence that he was alive again later, or that this was just something that was made up later, something like that. Not what I found. What you actually find is that all the evidence we have tells us that Jesus died by crucifixion. It was a public event. We know how it happens. We know how crucifixion works. We have tons of sources. We have Jewish sources, Christian sources, and even Roman sources on the crucifixion of Jesus and so on. So we have that, but then as far as him being alive again later, this was not some later invention. His followers went to their horrible, bloody deaths, proclaiming that he had risen from the dead and had appeared to them. So what I was thinking was some later invention, or was like a conspiracy. Some people got together and made up something. So in other words, his followers, they believed in Jesus, then he died, then they wanted to keep the movement going, so they invented a story about his resurrection. I thought it was going to be something like that. But then you find out these guys go to their horrible, bloody deaths, and it's like, wait a minute, that's not something you're making up. You have to believe it. Even if you're wrong, you have to believe what you're dying for. Doesn't make what you're dying for true, but it means you're not deliberately making it up or conspiring. So you have to actually believe it. So I started going through it. Okay, what could have convinced these people, his followers, that a man who'd been crucified had risen from the dead and appeared to them. Tried to think of different ways to explain it. At the end of the day, I couldn't figure out a way to explain it that actually made sense of the evidence, apart from they really saw this guy. And so that's the difference I find between arguments for Christianity and arguments for Islam. Just like Jai was saying, if you say, hey, Isaiah chapter 53 is a prophecy about what was going to happen to Jesus, and it's written 700 years before Jesus walked the earth, you look at that description, it sounds exactly like Jesus. In fact, when you're talking to someone who doesn't know and you read Isaiah 53, people think you're reading from the Gospels about Jesus. That's what they think you're reading. They think you're reading a chapter from the Gospel about Jesus, even though it was 7 centuries before his time. That's how much it sounds like Jesus. But that's what I'm talking about. When someone says, hey, here's something that convinces me, and you go and you look at it, you go, okay, there's something there. Even if I don't agree with it or something like that, I see why this person is making this claim. Same thing with the resurrection of Jesus, or same thing with the miracles of Jesus, or other fulfilled prophecies about Jesus. You can look at the argument and say, okay, let me investigate this. What happens when you investigate is you find there is evidence there. Even if you're going to reject it, even if you're an atheist or something else, you still look at it and say, okay, well, I see why these guys are arguing this. There's something there. That's very different from what happens when I'm given an argument for Islam. And it's look at these scientific miracles, and I look and I go, this is a scientific disaster. There's nothing here that he's getting right, except for things that any random person could have gotten right. So what's the actual evidence? Or the preservation of the Quran. For years, we were told perfect dot for dot, letter for letter preservation of the Quran from the time of Muhammad down till now. And it's only for the past few years that we've been hearing, oh, of course, you've got the different ahruf and you've got the different kirat, and we're trying to figure out how these two are connected. And of course, Uthman burned all these Qurans, and his earliest companions couldn't even agree on what's supposed to be in the Quran. It's like, wait, that's perfect preservation? Because that sounds like something very different from perfect preservation. So in other words, it's not, hey, we have a different interpretation about this perfect preservation. So imagine you did have perfect preservation of the Quran. Then we could argue about what this proves, or does this prove anything, or something like that. Then we'd be making that argument. What I'm saying is, when the argument is given to me, the moment you say, let me go and examine this argument, it turns out that the argument is based on just complete fabrication. Someone made up a story about perfect preservation. Someone made that up. That's a lie. The Quran has not been perfectly preserved. It's complete nonsense. So that's the situation. You have arguments for the existence of God, and when you examine those arguments, you find out that there's something there. Even if you don't agree with it, even if you say, you know what, I'm still going to be an atheist or something like that, you say, okay, but yeah, I see why Christians would think this, or I see why Muslims would think this. So arguments for the existence of God, you look at the evidence and you actually find there is evidence there. Arguments for Christianity, you look at them, and even if you disagree with it, you do find that there is evidence there that you actually have to struggle with. When you have arguments for Islam, every time I'm given an argument for Islam, the moment I look into it, it turns out to be not something I'm disagreeing with. It's something that's completely fabricated. It's something that someone made up. And I wonder if Islam's the truth, why does it need to rely on this sort of thing?
You said then we have 2 reasons. First of all, Isaiah 53, and you say that because of the resurrection, that it is historically accurate that Jesus died. But this does not contradict the Quran, because the Quran said that someone that looks like Jesus died on the cross.
Yeah, that wasn't the point, Abdur Rahman. My point was, so what does it mean for someone to rise from the dead? Well, it means he was dead, and that he was alive again. That he was alive again later. So there are two things you can look into there from a historical perspective. You can look into whether you have evidence that Jesus dies. You can have evidence whether he was alive again later. I'm saying you look at both of those and you find good evidence for them. And when you're saying, but this doesn't contradict the Quran, yet the Quran has a different explanation, another miraculous explanation, but it's that Jesus didn't die. Allah miraculously tricked people into believing that Jesus died, and then apparently his followers get the idea that he rose from the dead. So yeah, you could explain something like that, but that would be like me saying, okay, I believe I have good evidence that there's a blue mug in my hand. Why? Well, because I'm seeing it and I've got, so do I have good evidence that there's a blue mug in my hand? Yes. Now imagine you come along and say, no, actually Allah's tricking you into believing there's a blue mug there. Well, yeah, that would explain it, but that doesn't mean that's the best explanation. When you're reasoning about things, you go with, it's called the inference to the best explanation. You say, what's the best explanation of the evidence? So I say, what's the best explanation for why I have a blue cup? It really looks to me like I have a blue cup in my hand. Well, I think the best explanation is that I actually do have a blue cup in my hand. You could offer a different explanation, namely, God is tricking me into believing that there's a blue cup in my hand. And that would account for the evidence. It just doesn't seem that that's the best explanation, because now you're bringing in a miraculous explanation where God's trying to trick me into believing something. And I say, why would God try to trick me into thinking that I have a blue cup? What's the point of that? And so it doesn't seem like that would be a good explanation. So applying that to Jesus, if I look at the evidence and I say, okay, I have a bunch of evidence that he died by crucifixion, and I have a bunch of evidence that he appeared to his followers later. So I say, what's the best explanation of that? Looks like the best explanation is that a man rose from the dead. And you could say, no, there's another explanation. God tricked everyone into believing that he died by crucifixion and so on. Well, okay, that would explain things, but now you're bringing in God as a divine trickster who tricks people into believing false things, ends up starting a false religion, Christianity, and then spreads it to billions of people for no apparent reason. We look at it and say, what's the reason why God's tricking so many people? Tricked literally billions of people into believing that Jesus died when he didn't. So you could believe that. You could believe, yeah, God's just tricking you all. God's tricking you when you see things. I don't know how you believe anything. I don't know how you believe you're having a conversation right now if you believe God might be tricking you into thinking you're having this conversation. But anyway, the point is, yeah, you could say that explains things, and I would agree it would. But yeah, and I would agree you could explain almost anything by saying God's just tricking you into believing this now. But theologically, now you're bringing in God to cover up evidence that you don't like. And I have to say, the theological damage you do when you portray God as this cosmic trickster who deceives people into believing false things and starts false religions and so on. I'm just going to say, I don't think that's the best explanation. And the fact that that's what Islam has to do in order to get away from the resurrection kind of shows you how strong the resurrection is. In order to explain it away, you have to bring in a cosmic divine trickster. Yeah.
I have two things to say. When you said why God is doing this to the disciples, if one of the disciples believed that Jesus died, nothing will happen to him. God will not judge him. Why you believe that Jesus died? It's normally, and why God did such a thing to protect his prophet. And the second thing about the Isaiah, it said, I open it. It said, and his form more than the sons of men. Some people said that Isaiah 53 said that it speak about Jacob because Jesus don't have children, and Isaiah 53 said that he will have children.
Yeah, it doesn't say he'll have children, but you just look for rebuttals for it, and you're not actually.
Yeah, you said that the preservation didn't work. You stated it well done. But I just want to be sure that if you are sincere, Isaiah is just it's one of the most obvious prophecies. But if you want to read the prophecies in full, that we put the link for you in the private chat. The whole gospel, it goes through. It's Matthew. It goes through all the prophecies by that Jesus fulfilled from before his
Yes.
up to his death and resurrection.
We did. It's in the private chat.
Yeah, if you click it,
it sounds like a Daft Punk concert again.
Yeah.
Oh, our connection is bad.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah, Abdurrahman, if you click the link we put, just to be sure that it opens in Saudi, it's the Bible in Arabic. If you just go down to Matta, you'll find it near the end.
Yes, I open it.
It took a couple of days to read. You can't read it all now, but it goes through the genealogy, like Nasab, Yeshua, the genealogy of Jesus, and then it goes through all the Nubu'at, the prophecies, not just Isaiah.
Yes, but
you came here to just go against everything we're going to say about the Bible, yes? And you haven't even read it.
Okay. I want just to read ICM.
Okay.
You should probably do that and then think about it and
Yeah.
and study that and then
And
get
then
back.
maybe Giant DOC can do a show and take you through it and so on.
Yeah, we'd love to. Follow us on Rumble or Twitter. We'll try to keep in touch with you. Okay. I see that we have another Muslim.
Yeah, I
waiting.
just wanted one final comment on the issue of perfect preservation, because Abdur Rahman was it sounded, I could be wrong. It sounded like the view was so you have the Quran being revealed in several different ways. I forget if this was Abdur Rahman or one of the previous callers, but was saying that then later people may have been reciting it differently based on their own writing down their own versions of the Quran or something like this, and that this was the concern of people like Uthman, and why Uthman needed to put out a standardized version was as Islam was spreading, people are making their own copies of the Quran, and maybe some of these maybe they were getting some recitations wrong or something like that. I think that was the view. But I have to say, if that's the case, and I'm just saying this in general for everyone who's trying to put together a case for the preservation of the Quran. If you want to say that the reason Uthman had to do things was because of later differences, then what you should find is that the earliest Muslims, or at least the most reliable companions of Muhammad, should be agreeing on what the Quran is and what the Quran says. And that's not what you find. So after Uthman gets Zayd ibn Thabit. So for anyone, if I understand this may be new for people, but you have Uthman, he's a companion of Muhammad. He becomes, after Muhammad's death, the third of what are called the rightly guided caliphs. And it's during his reign, it gets brought up to him that Muslims are having disagreements about the Quran, and they're differing in the recitation of the Quran. So what are we going to do about this? And he says, hey, everyone hand over your copies of the Quran. And then he ends up burning the Qurans and putting out a standardized version of the Quran. Now, if Muslims want to believe that this standardized version of the Quran, is the authoritative good one, then Muhammad's companions, especially his most reliable companions, should agree on that Quran. And yet, when this Quran gets put out, when the Quran of Zayd ibn Thabit, who's assigned by Uthman to put together the Quran, when this Quran is put out by Uthman, how do Muhammad's other companions react? Well, we have in Jami at-Tirmidhi 3104, Muhammad's companion Abdullah ibn Masud. Why is he relevant? Well, Muhammad said, if you want to learn the Quran from anyone, learn it from Abdullah ibn Masud. So this is Muhammad's top guy, his number one guy on learning the Quran. What does Abdullah ibn Masud say about this new Quran that Caliph Uthman is distributing? He says, watch what he says. He says, "Oh, you Muslim people, avoid copying the Mus'haf and recitation of this man." Wait, what are you talking about? That's supposedly good as gold, right? According to what Muslims believe, that is as good as gold. What?
Could you tell me where Ibn Mas'ud live?
Listen to what he says. He's talking to Iraq. He's talking to the people of Iraq, right?
Yes.
So Jami at-Tirmidhi 3104. Oh, you Muslim people, avoid copying the Mus'haf and recitation of this man. By Allah, when I accepted Islam, he was but in the loins of a disbelieving man, meaning Zayd ibn Thabit. And it was regarding this that Abdullah ibn Masud said, "O people of Al-Iraq, keep the Musahif that are with you and conceal them." He says, hey, the Quran as I gave it to you, when they try to destroy that, hide it. Do not hand it over to these people who are going to burn it. And do not believe the Quran that they're giving you. Don't believe the Quran they're giving you. So what is this? This is Muhammad's top reciter of the Quran talking about the Quran that the Caliph Uthman was distributing to the Muslim community. And the guy that Muhammad identified as his top expert in what the Quran is says, do not listen to this Quran. Do not believe this Quran. Reject this Quran. The Quran that they're trying to destroy right now, do not hand them over to them and let them destroy that Quran and then give you this other Quran. that does not sound like people who are agreeing on what the Quran is. This sounds like people who are ready to fight over this, over their disagreements. This is not some, so the point is, this is not some later issue that arose as Islam rapidly spread. It's Muhammad's original guys, Muhammad's original people. And you have this guy, he becomes powerful, he becomes the caliph, so he gets to impose things. But then you have people that Muhammad identified as the best experts of the Quran. They're all in disagreement. They're all disagreeing with each other. This doesn't.
Could I answer you?
Yeah, you could say it's fine, but at the end of the day, if you want to say, oh, and this is the miracle of perfect preservation, this looks like the opposite of that.
Could I answer you? Aisha explained this in one hadith, which I don't know where to find it, but Ibn Masud did not live in Medina at the last days of Prophet Muhammad. He was in Syria or Iraq, I'm not sure, but he was not in Medina. And God said in the Holy Quran that some from the Quran was revealed to Muhammad, then later God get those verses out and replace them with other verses which are better than the other verses or are similar to that verses. Okay, and so Uthman was there at the time of Prophet Muhammad when he died. At the last revelation to Prophet Muhammad, angel of Gabriel give him the Quran, the seven. He give him the seven, and he get out what God wants to get out, and he replaced them with ones that are better or ones that are similar. And there's a verse in the Quran which said with what I'm telling to you exactly word for word. ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسى نأتي بخير منها ومثلها. Whatever we get a verse out of the Quran, we bring a similar verse or a better verse. Okay, Ibn Masud was not in Medina at the time of Prophet Muhammad died, and Aisha said, the wife of Prophet Muhammad, she said that some of the companions don't not even heard about these verses because they are new to them. They memorize the Quran, then they travel, then God get those verses out and put another verse in.
So, so just to be clarified, just to be clear, Abdur Rahman. So eventually, during the time of the Caliph Uthman, you have Ibn Masud, and he's sort of a religious leader now in Iraq. And so, what you're saying is that the Muhammad's final revelations about the Quran and this abrogates that and so on, that hadn't reached people in Iraq by the time of the Caliph Uthman. So by the time of the Caliph Uthman, Muslims are still disagreeing about the Quran because not everyone had caught on to all the differences that were revealed to Muhammad by the end. So shortly, in other words, shortly before Muhammad's death, you get a bunch of changes in place. And you have all these Muslims who don't know about it. And even the most knowledgeable Muslims, people like Ibn Masud, they didn't know about it. And so they're spreading their Qurans in Iraq, but it's the wrong Quran. It's the wrong Quran. They didn't know. Islam had spread all the way out here by this point, but they still didn't have the correct Quran. And now Uthman, he has to impose his new Quran, but Ibn Masud, he doesn't even know about any of this stuff. He doesn't even know about this. So instead of Ibn Masud saying, wait a minute, I wasn't there for some of this. So let these guys go ahead and fill me in on any changes that were made towards the end of Muhammad's life. Instead of saying that, he's saying, no, hide your Qurans and do not accept these other Qurans. And he's just wrong. So this is Muhammad's top expert in the Quran. And even years later, years after Muhammad's death, he still doesn't know what the Quran is, to the point where he's telling people, hide your Qurans, hide your Qurans. He still doesn't know what the Quran is. And Uthman has to say, man, this guy just doesn't get it. No matter how many times I tell him, he doesn't know what the Quran is, and I have to go in and fix it. He won't listen. He's telling people to hide their Quran. You know what? I just have to impose this on him. This is like the strangest, perfectly preserved book in the history of humanity. In fact, it's a weird situation. You say, what are the characteristics of a book that hasn't been perfectly preserved? The Quran has all those characteristics. You can look at, some people think it may there may be additional information in there. That's like Ubay. That's like Ubay ibn Ka'b. He had 2 additional chapters in his version of the Quran. Then some people may say, "Oh, no, that's not supposed to be in there. That's not supposed to be in there." That's someone like Ibn Masud, who didn't believe that Surah 1, Surah 113, and Surah 114 are supposed to be in the Quran. He said these are prayers. These are us speaking to Allah. It's not Allah speaking to us. So you have those kinds of disagreements. You might say that people end up with different books and they have to burn them. You might end up with different traditions and so on, and different meanings and even contradictions, as we've seen. The Quran has all the characteristics of a book that hasn't been perfectly preserved, and yet Muslims will look at all that and say, yes, and yet it's been perfectly preserved. And so it's just weird to say that a book has all the features of a book that hasn't been perfectly preserved, and yet it's been perfectly preserved anyway. If you wanted to say there's a miracle in Islam, it would be that. It has all the features of a book that hasn't been perfectly preserved, and yet somehow it's been perfectly preserved. That would be the miracle of Islam. Just let me quick quote, because I mentioned Ubay ibn Ka'b. So Sahih al-Bukhari 5005. Umar said, Ubay was the best of us in the recitation of the Quran, yet we leave some of what he recites. Ubay says, I have taken it from the mouth of Allah's messenger and will not leave it for anything whatever. And you see, Ubay sometimes has more in his verses of the Quran than other people. And he had additional chapters. He had 2 additional chapters that didn't end up in the Quran. And so just think about this, because Muhammad, when he gave his list, he put Ibn Masud first on his list. Said, you want to learn the Quran from anyone? Learn it from this guy. But he gave a list of 4 people. Ubay ibn Ka'b was one of the other 4 people on his list. And so think about what you have here. You've got his top guy. Muhammad said, if you want to learn the Quran from anyone, learn it from this guy. That guy is the same guy who later on is saying, do not believe that this new Quran of Zayd ibn Thabit that Uthman is putting out, do not believe that, and do not hand over your Qurans, because you guys have the true Qurans and they're going to burn them. Do not listen to these guys. That's what you have from Ibn Masud. And then Ubay, they're saying, yes, Ubay's the best of the reciter, but we have to leave off some of his stuff. We have to leave off some of his chapters. We have to leave off some of his some parts of his verses and so on. These are the top guys. So you end up with this problem. Either Muhammad knew what he was talking about when he said, learn the Quran from these guys, in which case their Qurans don't line up with the Quran you have today. There's different. They don't even agree on what chapters are supposed to be in there. So either Muhammad knew what he was talking about when he picked his experts in the Quran, or no, the later people got it right. Later Muslims got it right. Uthman got it right. Zayd ibn Thabit got it right. And all the experts that Muhammad picked as far as learning the Quran, they all got it wrong. They didn't know what they were talking about. And so it's just this weird situation. Again, if you want to say perfect preservation of the Quran, it's a very strange book.
When Prophet Muhammad said about Ibn Masud, he said, if you want to hear the Quran being recited as it was revealed to me, hear it from Ibn Masud. That means he is the best reciter of the Quran. Okay. The second thing, Uthman bin Affan is the 3rd best companions ever. He is best than Ibn Masud. He is best than any other companions except for Abu Bakr Siddiq or Umar ibn Khattab. And Prophet Muhammad, when he was with his companions used to say that the best from us is Abu Bakr Siddiq, then Umar ibn Khattab, then Uthman bin Affan. And Prophet Muhammad never said to them that you are wrong. Okay.
Abdurrahman, do you deny Sahih Bukhari? Sahih Bukhari says, your prophet said, خُذُوا الْقُرْآنَ مِنْ أَرْبَعَةٍ. Take the Quran from 4. Ibn Mas'ud, Ubay ibn Ka'b, Mu'adh ibn Jabal, وسالم مولى أبي حذيفة.
Yes.
Yes. So it's not that. It's no. So your Muhammad said, take the Quran. خُذُوا الْقُرْآنَ مِنْ. Take the Quran from these 4. So what your first point is nonsense, because Muhammad himself he said take the Quran. He didn't say take some of the Quran. He didn't say, oh, I didn't mention Abu Bakr and Omar, so by default take the Quran from. No, he gave you a command as a ummah to take Quran from Ubay and Abi Mas'ud. And what happened? You as an ummah, first of all, the Qurans of Ibn Mas'ud and Ubay were two different ones. They're 2 different, because Ibn Mas'ud didn't even take the Mu'awwadatain. He didn't even take Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. And Ubay had 2 extra surahs. But you as a ummah, you didn't take this one or that one. Your Quran now is different from theirs.
Yes, I just want to establish that Uthman bin Affan is better.
He's not better.
Than that.
Muhammad didn't say take
No,
your خذ القرآن من Uthman ibn Affan.
I'm telling you as a
Did
man.
did
As
one
a man.
second. 1 second. Did Muhammad say take the Quran from Uthman ibn Affan?
No, I'm telling you as
Okay,
a man, he is better
so
than him.
step by step. Who did Muhammad say to take the Quran from? The 4 that I mentioned to you.
Yes.
Sahih Bukhari, and it's also in Jami' Tirmidhi 3810. Sahih Hadith.
Yes.
So, according to the hadith that I told you, who are the 4 that Muhammad takes the Quran from? Is Uthman one of them?
No, we are on agreement.
Thank you. So why are you talking about Uthman when David told you about Ibn Masud and Ubay that your Muhammad said to take the Quran from? Why you bring other names?
I just was saying that Uthman bin Affan is best individual than
How is he best?
others.
Did Muhammad say, 1 second? Did Muhammad say Uthman is best?
I give you a story that the
No,
companions
I don't want a
used to say.
story. I don't want a story. Did Muhammad say take the Quran from Uthman? He's the best.
He did not say take the Quran from
Okay,
Uthman. He
okay.
said from those 4. He said
Okay.
from those 4.
Thank you.
But I'm telling to you, like
No. If
Prophet
Muhammad
did
says
not.
something, you can't tell me anything else. I can't take
Prophet,
from you.
yeah,
Abdurrahman, you're
wait,
not the
wait,
prophet of Islam. Muhammad is
wait,
the
wait.
prophet of Islam.
Let me complete.
Oh,
Did he? That's it. By the way, that is really interesting stuff, because he's basically saying Uthman is a greater companion than Ibn Masud or something like that, like all around better companion of Muhammad. And what DOC was pointing out, that's not the same thing as saying he's the best at the Quran. Muhammad said who's best at the Quran. He said, hey, as far as this Quran stuff goes, hey, Uthman, great guy. Abu Bakr, great guy. Umar, great guy. If you want to learn the Quran accurately, do not go to these guys. Go to these guys over here. Go to Ibn Masud, go to Ubay ibn Ka'b, go to these guys. And then we point out that Muslims eventually say, screw those guys, the ones that Muhammad said learn the Quran from. They don't know what they're talking about. Just let Uthman impose a Quran on people. And then the very people that Muhammad said learn the Quran from, these are the guys saying, wait a minute, this new Quran is really weird. Don't buy this new Quran. Keep the Quran you have. That's more accurate. And then the response from Abdurrahman is, but Uthman's a better companion. So that overrules what Muhammad said about who you learn the Quran from. This is very weird stuff, right? Muhammad says, hey, learn the Quran from this guy. And then Uthman says, no, I'm going to tell you what Quran to learn. And then you have Muslims 14 centuries later going, oh yeah, let's stick with what Uthman said and not what Muhammad said. Screw what Muhammad said. Muhammad said, learn the Quran from these guys, but we reject their Quran. We go with the one that Uthman pointed out. Really, when did Muhammad say, hey, learn the Quran from this guy and not from these guys? That's what's amazing. That every show we do, it comes down to this. It's Muslims 14 centuries later saying something completely different. It's the same thing whether we're talking about the Islamic dilemma or anything else. It's Muslims 14 centuries later saying what their modern scholars and their modern Dawah guys say, even if it completely contradicts what Allah and Muhammad say. And we point out, guys, this is like the definition of innovation and so on, and shirk. Because you're saying, here's what Allah says, let me believe what this guy says instead. It's everything about modern Islam is shirk and innovation. And we're the ones who pointed out to them saying, whoa, you said this is what you believe? This is what you believe about? Look at what your prophet said. And we don't care. Look at what your God said. We don't care. What do you care about? Just what we were told when we were growing up. That's all that matters. And it's okay, then your religion is no longer the religion of submission to Allah by obeying Muhammad. Your religion is a religion of shirk and innovation and mindlessly submitting to your modern leaders and Dawah clowns. And that's fine. Just be honest about it.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to say real quickly is about Isaiah 53. He mentioned, and obviously he just must have been sent that, or he just like Googled like refutation of Isaiah 53 or whatever. But if you go through Isaiah and he's talking about verse 10,
Yep.
Which, by the way, literally in the Hebrew, it just says he will see seed. See seed. It doesn't say he will see his seed, but it just says he will see seed. The word seed is used throughout Isaiah metaphorically multiple times. This is not the only time it's used. So it doesn't mean physical offspring, contrary to what some counter-missionary rabbis.
No, and it wouldn't, because it says he's cut off out of the land of the living, and who can speak of his descendants. So it's saying like physically in his first in his original life before his resurrection, he has no descendants. He doesn't have any offspring. And so how do you interpret later on when it says he will see his seed, or he will see his offspring? That would have two possible meanings. One would be after his resurrection, he's going to procreate and have kids. Christians don't believe that, but for Muslims who would insist that this can't be Jesus because it says he would see his offspring, one interpretation would be, okay, he's going to procreate. Two would be talking about a different kind of offspring, like spiritual offspring. But I would tie that into exactly what Jesus says in John chapter 12. You got people and they want to see Jesus and so on. Chapter 12, verse 23 says, and Jesus answered them, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. So this is Jesus saying, hey, everyone, is freaking out. People are freaking out because I say I'm going to die and so on. Guess what? A grain of wheat, you take a grain of wheat, you toss it into the ground. The grain of wheat has to die, but if it dies, it becomes more. It multiplies. And he's saying that's what I'm going to do. So as far as Jesus having offspring, physical, biological offspring, no. But Jesus has a ton of offspring in like this spiritual sense of he's dying to give birth to other people like
I would
him.
have to disagree, Dave. I'd have to disagree on that. Because after all, isn't Jehovah Elohim the creator of all the flesh? Aren't all the flesh his offspring?
What is this?
Because we're made in his image and likeness.
Are you a Muslim?
Yes, I am. I'm a mu'min, not a Muslim. I'm mu'min. There's a difference between Muslim and a believer.
Okay, this is for unless David or AP want to engage, this is for Muslims.
Yeah, I thought that was clear about us
This
saying.
is
Yeah, I'm a
Muslims
Muslim.
only.
I'm a Muslim. Muslims become a mu'min, a believer. It's called mu'min or kafar. Now I want to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question since you're always attacking the Quran. I'm going to take your book.
This is not Q&A with Dave.
Bash you over the head with it, Dave. I'm going to take your own Christian book and bash you over the head.
Cut him out. Yeah, that's not going to go well, guys.
What kind of Muslim are you?
Yeah,
that shows the stupidity of Islam, that not every Muslim is a believer.
It's so stupid. Seriously, you are here on a show that is hosted by these guys, and you come on here and like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to like, don't you think you're going to bash you over the head? You're going to get kicked out. Like, you think we are now bound to listen to you? You're going to get kicked out. Are you dumb?
Gosh.
Exactly.
Weird stuff. And it's also weird that you could say, okay, guys, it's also hang on. It's also interesting that like you could cover a different topic every show, and whatever topic you say, this is the topic we're going to focus on, you always have people who are, okay, let's change the subject. It's like, okay, guys, we happy to cover all kinds of subjects and topics over a series of shows. Why is it that every time we say, okay, here's the topic of this show, no, we have to talk about this thing? Anyway, I don't know. It's weird. And if we have this show, like this show, we said, hey, specifically we want Muslims explaining why they think that Islam is true. And what happens? I mean, fortunately, they weren't good responses, but it's just amazing that the examples I gave at the beginning of arguments that Muslims used for many years, but the Dawah guys stopped using them because they fell apart, were the scientific miracles and the preservation of the Quran. And then when we open the discussion to Muslims to say, why do you believe this? What's your best reason for believing in Islam? It's perfect preservation and scientific miracles. The very arguments their Dawah guys now regard as bogus and debunked are the arguments that Muslims are still using. So it's just amazing. The guys who gave these arguments to Muslims deceptively, filled their heads with complete nonsense, gave these arguments to Muslims, then later admitted, yeah, those arguments were completely bogus. That information hasn't filtered its way down to all the Ummah yet. And you've got the Ummah, they're still using arguments that the guys who gave these arguments to them now admit were deception. And it's like it's like this whack-a-mole situation again where, hey, we'll give you an argument and run with that argument for 5 years or so until it's debunked. And then once it's been debunked, come back and we'll give you a new argument. We'll give you a new deception. And it's like Islam is just this, it's like wave after wave after wave of deception. And you never get to anything that's actually, here's the evidence for our religion. Again, the Dawah guys acknowledge the perfect preservation argument was completely bogus. The Dawah guys now acknowledge the scientific miracles argument, that was bogus. What are people still using? Arguments that even the Dawah guys now admit were bogus, and you still have Muslims using them. Why aren't you guys using any arguments where you actually have good evidence? I'm starting to think that you just don't have any, and that's why you have to kind of try and change the subject whenever it gets brought up.
I don't know why he called himself a mu'min. Did he say mu'min? I mean, it's a mu'min. Why did he say mu'min? I'm kind of stuck on that right now. Is that a regional thing?
I think he meant to say mu'min. His accent is wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. He's trying to say that he's not a Muslim, he's a mu'min. Like Muslims
I
are
got
not-
that, but he was like mu'min and like mu'min.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said it wrong.
Would you mind if I ask the question before we started?
So the topic is for actually you. We're asking Muslims, why do you believe that Islam is true? So can you prove to us Islam is true? Why do you believe Islam is true?
Sure. Okay. The first thing I'd start off with saying is like, I'm like satisfied with Islam as a religion in general. Like the idea of like this pure. Excuse me.
You said you're what? You're what? Sorry.
Satisfied.
Okay, you're satisfied. Okay.
The reason why I'm satisfied with Islam is because, like, it makes sense to me clearly and directly the pure monotheism that is in the religion. On top of that, the way the Quran is like recited and the facts that in the Quran and the information in the Quran.
Pause on that. So first point you said.
Can I just finish the point?
Because there's monotheism.
Can I just finish the point? If you don't mind, can I just finish the point? Let me just like make my whole claim. Then you can comment.
Look.
If you don't mind.
You're not going to last if you just keep doing that. You just made 2 points. I just want to focus on the first point first, okay? Like I'm not being unreasonable here. You made 2 points. I just want to focus on the first point. So the first point you made was that there's monotheism in Islam, and that's why you're satisfied with it. I guess what you mean by that is that's why you think Islam is true, because it teaches monotheism. Is that correct?
Hello? Oh, he muted himself.
Yeah, he's muted.
Yeah. The pure monotheism is something that attracts me towards Islam. Yes.
Okay. Do you know any of the in Muhammad's time there were a lot of people claiming to be prophets, for example, like Musaylama. Have you heard this name before?
I haven't heard the name, but I'm aware that there were false prophets.
Okay, so Musaylama was one of these prophets going around claiming that he's, one of the prophets of God. He had a book, things like that. He claimed that there's one God.
Okay.
So he's a false prophet, but he claims there's one God.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're saying that the criterion we need to use is, okay, first of all, look at this religion. Is it teaching one God?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, you didn't tell us why you think that, by the way.
Yeah, because you didn't let me finish my sentence. I didn't say it was a conditional. I said I wanted to say that it's a prerequisite. Now, would you mind if I just like finish the thing, then you can comment?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I just like to start off by saying is that one of the reasons why I'm attracted to Islam is because of the pure monotheism. Sure. Okay. Because like, you have the arguments of like, if you have more than one, then what if they disagree, yada, yada. Okay, on top of that, the Quran itself, it has many miracles, which I know you guys are aware of and you've heard of, and I bet you'll like deny many of them, no problem. But like to me, I'm convinced. And if you have like something to say, I guess tell me, and then I'll give it a listen, yeah? And then on top of that, you have the recitation of the Quran itself. There's certain power to the Quran's recitation, which no doubt Muslims, non-Muslims, they can hear it. There's something majestic about the Quran. And it's well known. I have friends myself, they're not even Muslims, and they in their opinion, when they hear it, there's something special about it. On top of it, the grammar and the eloquence of the Quran in Arabic is literally the standard of Arabic. And all the poets of their time could not even match it. So you have to admit that there's something special here. Sure, you could disagree and say this and bring up this hadith and the hadith, no problem. I'll listen to that argument as well. But there's something to me when it comes to the Quran and when it comes to the facts that I read in it and when it comes to the feelings that, look, I know feelings is a bit of a subjective thing, but really, like even to non-Muslims, there's feelings that arise from inside that put you in a certain state of mind that to me, like it increases my God consciousness,
Yazan, can I say something before everybody else goes on and has this discussion with you?
Yeah, come on.
Have you ever listened to, you can find this on YouTube if you just search for it. Have you ever listened to the Divine Liturgy in Arabic?
No.
I would suggest that you do that after you're done with this. Just search for the Divine Liturgy in Arabic. It has the it is a very, very old, a very ancient tradition of worship in the church, in the early church, still practiced today by many Christians around the world. You can have it in Arabic, and you can have it in Arabic. You can have it in multiple languages, in Greek, English, and so on. But you can also listen to it in Arabic. I'm specifically bringing up Arabic because you can basically then compare that to a recitation of the Quran, and I will let you decide for yourself which you find more moving and more impressive.
Oh, I'm not saying that there can't be another text which is like, if it's really nicely recited, that won't sound nice. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that one of the special things about the Quran is that it has this like mystical thing to it, which makes you feel like this. No, I'm not saying that it's the only thing in the world. It's just one of my points.
Okay. I'm just saying that there's something better than that. So,
I don't think so.
Okay, try it out.
Could I make a point?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Like, what is you guys' like response when, like, in the Quran, there's certain like miracles mentioned, which are like scientifically true? Like, what do you say to those things? Like, for example, like, here's just one example. Like, it says the universe is expanding. Like, what's your response to that?
David, you're muted. I know David is jumping on it right now, but David is muted.
Yeah. No, it doesn't say the universe is expanding.
No, it does. It says when yes, it does.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get that verse.
You want me to find it?
No, let's get the verse up on the screen. Yeah.
Okay.
Chapter, verse. Who's putting it up?
Me or you, David?
Is Life putting it up? Who's putting it up?
I don't know.
Yeah, do you want me to look for it? I'm saying.
What chapter verse is that?
I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
Oh, no, I don't have it memorized, to be honest. I gotta look for it.
Yeah, I can put it up if you give me the verse number. I'll put it up.
You want me to look for it, right? Hello?
It's chapter 51, verse 47.
Yeah, it's so mystical that we know, but you don't know it. Surah 51, verse 47.
Yes.
And like David said, it never says the universe is expanding, but we'll be able to see that for ourselves.
You can tell us. Surah 51, verse
51, 47. 51, 47.
Yeah, let me go ahead and read. I'll go ahead and read 10 translations of this. Ready?
Can we put it up quickly?
Surah 51, verse 47. I'll read 10 translations. We have built the heaven with might, and we it is who make the vast extent thereof. So there, Allah says, this is a Pickthall translation. Allah just says, I have made vast the extent. That's nothing about expanding there. Yusuf Ali, with power and skill did we construct the firmament, for it is we who create.
Sorry, David. Sorry, just to clarify, which verse are you on?
Chapter 51, verse 47.
Okay, could you read it? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I'll go through these again. Pickthall, we have built the heaven with might, and we it is who make the vast extent thereof. So there he just says he makes the vastness of space. Yusuf Ali, with power and skill did we construct the firmament, for it is we who create the vastness of space, just as we create the vastness of space. Hilali Khan, with power did we construct the heaven. Verily, we are able to extend the vastness of space thereof. There, Allah simply says he's able to extend space if he wants. Shakir says, the Shakir translation, and the heaven, we raised it high with power, and most surely we are the makers of things ample. So there it's just space is ample, and Allah makes things that are ample. Sher Ali, and we have built the heavens with our own hands, and verily we have vast powers. Khalifa, we constructed the sky with our hands, and we will continue to expand it. Khalifa, the guy who was killed as a heretic, he's the one who gives you the expand it translation. And then you have Arbery, and heaven, we built it with might, we extend it wide. Palmer, and the heaven, we have built it with might, and verily, we do surely give it ample space. Rodwell, and the heaven, with our hands, we have built it up and given it its expanse. Sale, we have built the heavens with might, and we have given it a large extent. The vast majority of translations have to do something with, he just makes space vast. As far as expanding it, you get that from Khalifa. And what do we have here? The Clear Quran. And we are certainly expanding it. The Clear Quran, pretty much the least reliable translation of the Quran I would ever go with. But there you have it.
I can also add to that what the tafsir says. So tafsir Ibn Kathir, the most popular interpretation, most widely used interpretation of the Quran, in his interpretation of chapter 51, verse 47, he says, and to the verse, and we are able to extend the vastness of space thereof. It means we made it vast, and we brought its roof higher without pillars to support it, and thus it is hanging independently. Tafsir al-Tabari simply also just says that Allah here points out how he made the universe, or how he made the sky vast, and how he was able to expand it, and then has multiple interpreters just saying the same thing over and over again. So none of the actual reliable Muslim commentators who are very, very famous has ever claimed that this means that the universe is expanding.
And I'll just point out, so Muslim translators who are just translating the Quran and non-Muslim translators who are just translating the Quran, they don't come up with this. AP pointed out that Muslim commentators for centuries, they didn't conclude this. Where do you get to the expanding? Well, you get with like the clear Quran and the Khalifa, where you eventually get to people who are specifically trying to make the Quran sound miraculous, and they're the ones who come up with these interpretations that Muslims didn't come up with for 14 centuries. And so I have to say, at the very least, you should acknowledge, if Muslims for 14 centuries don't think that it's talking about the universe expanding, then for a Muslim in the 20th century or the 21st century, after news of the Big Bang and the expanding universe, suddenly says, oh yes, this means expanding, when they're simultaneously doing that with all kinds of Quran verses, trying to come up with amazing scientific meanings of these verses, that should kind of clue you in that this is modern Muslims trying to read science into the Quran rather than the Quran speaking on science. At the very least, if you wanted to say, yes, the Quran does mean that the universe is expanding there, you'd have to say it's presented in such a confusing way that for 14 centuries, Muslims didn't see it. Boom.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that when the case that you're trying to make is like this cumulative case where it's this thing plus this thing plus this thing, but how we see that is it's just 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals 0. Like no matter how many reasons you give, we're going to show you that amounts to 0, that amounts to 0. I really would love it.
Can I defend it before it's a 0?
I would love it if you could show.
Can I defend it before it's a 0?
I would love it. Hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry that the middle of my sentence interrupted.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I would love it if you could show us one big proof for you personally why you believe Islam is true. Because I know for a fact that this is not the reason why you believe it. This verse in itself is not why you believe Islam is true. Now I know you're trying to say it's part of a larger case, but again, it's just 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0. Do you have any proofs that you can point to say this is why I believe Islam is true? This is why I believe Muhammad was a true prophet.
Yes, no problem. But before I get to that, I would like to just respond to the verse before it's a 0.
You can respond.
Like if you've automatically made it a 0. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. So he just admitted defeat and he.
Yeah, no. Listen. Okay. So this is what I like to say. For sure, some verses over time they've had a certain interpretation, and then later their interpretation was different. For example, like I think David Wood, he used Ibn Kathir. Am I correct?
No, AP did.
AP did.
AP, he used Ibn Kathir, and he said how he referred to it as I forgot what he said exactly, but like it was nothing to do with the universe expanding, right?
Nobody ever, no reputable Muslim interpreter ever said that it has anything to do with the universe expanding. It is about making the Allah spreading, or spreading the sky, the heaven. That's it.
Yeah.
And a little side note there. If you want to say that when it says that the universe, that Allah created the vastness of space, that it actually means he's expanding it, you'd have the same issue with the very next verse, which talks about the earth, right? So with the earth, the earth we have laid it out. How gracious is the spreader thereof? If you wanted to say, oh, this is talking about the universe expanding, you'd have to say this is about the earth expanding as well simultaneously. So the earth is expanding as well.
And the verse very clearly says was sama, so it is the sky, the heaven. You're reading the universe expanding into it, which is
sorry, AP, can I just respond, because Your friend spoke, then David spoke again, and then he cut off my answer like midway.
Well, you actually ran away, so go ahead.
No, I just muted for a second. Like what?
I'm just joking. I'm joking with you. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So
he did it again.
What?
Hello?
No, he's not muted.
Are you trolling? What is this?
No, maybe he's cutting out. I don't know.
He's running.
We can't hear you.
Hello?
Zelle. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, if I leave the stream and go to the verse, does the mic not work?
Oh, you must be on your phone.
Yeah, are you on your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's happening. When you switch windows when you're using your phone, that's probably what's cutting you off.
Oh, okay. So as you know, we believe that the Quran is perfect, okay, and that it is clear and straightforward. Now, at the same time, we acknowledge that it's not a science textbook. Like, you're not going to look at it and be like, I know, oh, here it's trying to teach us that the universe is expanding. Now, I just want to say that the verse it uses the word نحن لموسعون, okay? لموسعون in Arabic means that it is we who are expanding it, okay? And David, he mentioned a couple. Sorry, not David. Was it David?
Okay, what is he expanding? Can you tell me the word at the beginning of the verse? What is it exactly that Allah is expanding?
Al-sama, the skies.
The sama, yeah. Not
Yes,
the sky.
okay.
It's just the sky. That's happening.
Yeah, Zan, sorry,
Sorry. Just, I don't mind listening to you. Just like I just want to finish because like David made another point about the next verse.
Ibn Abbas didn't say Musaun is expanded.
Sorry, miss. Can I just finish it? Then you go ahead.
No, because Ibn Abbas is Muhammad's cousin and he's better Arabic than me and you. He said, he said Ibn Qurtubi tafsir. He said, "Inna lamusaun, معناها inna laqadirun." Did you know that? He actually said, yeah, he said Musaun means we are over it in power. It didn't even
what's
say
the problem with that?
Less powerful.
Yeah, he said وإن لموسعون قال ابن عباس معناها لقادرون. Do you want me to show it to you?
Okay, but لموسعون, if you look at the word directly, it means to expand. And yes, at the same time, لقادرون, sure, Allah is able to expand it, no problem. But please, I don't mind getting to your point.
He didn't say able to expand. No, he didn't say able to expand.
He said لموسعون, which means to expand.
No, he said qadirun.
Yes.
Ibn Abbas said.
Who's Ibn Abbas when it comes to the Quran? No offense.
What?
Whoa.
He's the
Whoa!
No. Like no matter what Ibn Abbas says, no matter what Ibn Abbas says,
when it comes to the Quran, he's only the founder of Quranic studies.
Who the heck is Ibn Abbas, man?
Yeah, what does he know?
Okay, he could have a wrong interpretation. Fair point. Who am I? But when the Quran says لموسعون, you can't just be like, oh, no, this means لقادرون. Like, come on, it's straightforward right in front of your face.
1 second. Do you know that Muhammad said Ibn Abbas is Habr al-Ummah? He said Ibn Abbas
What does that have to do? What does that have to do with knowledge?
What? Muhammad said Ibn Abbas is the scholar of your ummah.
Okay.
He didn't say Yazan is the scholar of your ummah.
I can't believe you said
No, I don't claim that I'm a scholar of any ummah. But listen, maybe okay. So you're telling me, okay, yeah, okay. Let me just finish the point.
This is the guy you go to for the tafsir of the Quran. He said this is what your prophet said.
Yeah, so Ibn Abbas
didn't say
it means we're expanding. It means he said it means we have power over it.
Power over it just means we have power over the sky?
That's what he said. He said inna laqadirun. What does qadir mean? It's one of Allah's names. Al-Qadir.
Yeah, but it doesn't say laqadirun, does it?
It's one of the names of Allah. What does qadir mean?
This is a bit of a straw man.
What, dude? It's if you're Ibn Abbas, he said it. It means
what Ibn Abbas? It says لموسعون, and you say no. He says لقادرون. Like, what am I supposed to do with this information?
I agree. It's stupid, but that's what he said, and he's better than you.
Okay. I appreciate your perspective. Okay.
It's not from my perspective. It's Ibn Abbas.
All right. So when it says لموسعون and expanding, right? Now, wait, I never got to finish my point from the beginning, but you guys keep cutting me off.
1 second. I don't care about your point. Ibn Abbas
what do you mean? Wait, this is how you treat a guest. This is how you treat a guest. You don't care about...
Yeah, because you're untruthful.
I'm untruthful. What did I say? What did I say that's untruthful?
You said
yes.
Musaun means to expand, and there's nothing else. Ibn Abbas said inna laqadirun.
Okay, so because you're saying it means laqadirun, does that like mean it doesn't qualify anymore?
I didn't say Ibn Abbas.
So it's not your argument? So it is your argument or it's not your argument?
Listen, this is the entire point. The entire point is that, as AP pointed out, that what you're coming up with is an innovation. None of your scholars who came before you...
Yeah, I didn't get to respond to that, by the way.
None of them said this. This is you coming up now, and you said,
Could you be fair? Could you be fair? Let me respond to it.
You believe the Quran is clear.
Could you be fair and let me respond to it?
You have a very big listening problem, man. You have a very, very big patience problem. I mean, you come here and I'm not saying that we are superior to you or anything like that, but you come here, you want to argue, and you just don't have the patience to ever listen. You think you have to speak the entire time. You think you can just take the time and list all your concerns, and you have the right to speak, and so on. It's just not how it goes, man. Oh, you guys kicked him. Okay, funny.
Yeah.
So I have to say one thing, which is that so this is very clearly a logical fallacy that this guy is engaging in. He is he's using a confirmation bias, right, to say so before it was ever discovered that the universe is expanding, nobody ever had the idea to look at this verse and to say, oh, this seems to say that the universe is expanding. No, because the verse just says that and the heaven or the sky, Allah is its expander, or Allah has the ability to expand it, so or to spread it. So this is how people always understood it, that he's the one who makes it big, who makes it huge, and all that. Then the whole thing happens. The whole Big Bang Theory and the whole discovery of the universe expanding happens. Then suddenly, after a while, we have people emerging, reading the Quran and saying, oh, wait a minute. When it says here, and he is the one who has the power to make the sky big, it looks like this could actually also mean the universe, or Allah is making the universe expand. But then they move on from simply accepting that as a theory, and start asserting that this is actually what the verse says, and that when others did not understand this, and here comes the ad hoc reasoning here, they then rule out any refutation of this by saying that anybody else who did not understand it this way simply did not know. So therefore, any refutation that you make is then just simply dismissed because, well, they just did not know. I have my confirmation bias here. I know that the universe expands, and if I read something in the Quran that sounds kind of similar, that I can somehow bend and interpret in that way, then I must understand from my perfect Quran that this is a miracle of the expansion of the. So it doesn't work that way, man. Yeah. Read it.
And by the way,
Allah spreads the sky. That's it.
Yeah. And by the way, there were the oscillating universe was a theory in cosmology for a while, that the universe gets big and then contracts and gets big and contracts and so on. Guess what? Muslims found that in the Quran when that was a popular theory. Then that no longer became a popular theory, and then it was just the universe is expanding. And oh, shocker, they find that in the Quran. It doesn't matter what the theory. If scientists tomorrow say, oh, you know what, the universe isn't expanding, it's actually contracting right now, suddenly they'll find that in the Quran. And guys, it's like, what's a better explanation here? Earlier I was talking about the inference of the best explanation. When you have 14 centuries of Muslims and they don't conclude that this is what the Quran says, and Muhammad's own companions and so on, all the experts in the Quran, the masters of the Quran for 14 centuries, doesn't cross anyone's mind that this is what the Quran is saying. And suddenly you get to the age when Muslims are desperate to find some sort of confirmation of the Quran, and what becomes popular in the 70s are the scientific miracles. And then suddenly you get all these interesting translations of these Quran verses. And then Dawah guys use them, and then they convince Muslims, oh, there's all this amazing evidence for your Quran. And then the Dawah guys eventually admit, no, we're lying about all that stuff. We're just making that stuff up. That argument's been debunked. But you'll still have the ummah that believes all this stuff. And it's to the point where we just saw it. Ibn Abbas, who cares what that idiot says? I believe what I read in my Muslim pamphlet about scientific miracles. And I don't know, it's just an amazing religion that, again, this is not a religion that seems to care at all about what Allah and Muhammad say. It's all about 21st century Dawah guys and mindlessly going along with any lie they tell.
Let me read one thing, which is a very famous, often used quotation, actually, from one of the most famous interpretations of the Quran, from Tafsir al-Jalalain from the 15th century, when it comments on which verse was it? When it comments on a certain verse, I think it is chapter 88, verse 20. Yeah.
Oh,
What
yeah,
it,
the flat
what
earth.
it says there is, and the funny thing is, the Arabic here, the original Arabic, is actually even better. In the English, they kind of they added certain things to it that are not in the original text. But the Arabic interpretation here says, so the verse is, "And the earth, how it is spread out." It says then, meaning how it has been extended, so they may take it as evidence of the power and oneness of Allah. It then says the phrase "spread out" explicitly indicates that the earth is flat, which is the view of the scholars of Islamic law, contrary to the claim of the astronomers who argue that it is a sphere. So here you have the 15th century interpretation by the scholars who say that there is consensus, that the Islamic scholars agree that the earth is flat. Only the non-Islamic scholars, the astronomers, they agree that it is round. So this was the belief in the 15th century. And today some guy comes along and says, no, it clearly says that the universe is expanding. And we are supposed to trust that. Well, no.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out. So look at the issues we have. We have embryology, and if you look at what the Muslim sources actually say about embryology, it's a massive disaster, and so on. Again, semen forming between the backbone and ribs, and on and on and on. There's nothing that Muhammad gets right that a random person wouldn't have gotten right in the 7th century. But then you get onto the issue of astronomy and so on, and cosmology. When you put the Muslim sources together on like what the universe is like, you get down towards the bottom, you've got this giant fish or whale, and this giant fish or whale, it becomes agitated and it can kind of flop around, and that's when you get earthquakes and so on. But anyway, above that giant fish or whale, you have the 7 earths. Keep in mind, everyone, according to the Quran, there are 7 earths. And Ibn Abbas, what does he know? He points out that they're all flat. These are all flat earths. So the idea is that you have 7 earths and they're all stacked up like pancakes, but there's some space in between them. And Muhammad says there's a 500-year journey in between each of these 7 earths. So we're on the top earth, and then below us there's another earth, and so on, all the way down. And in between each of the 2 earths, there's a 500-year journey. Now, what is that? Walking, riding a camel, spaceship, whatever. Take your pick on what he means by 500-year journey. It doesn't fit what we actually observe with science. Anyway, we're on the top earth. And so we're on the top earth, and Allah puts mountains down like tent pegs to keep the earth from flopping around when the giant fish flops around. And so you have this top earth here, and way out on the side, you have this pool. That's where the sun goes down. So the sun goes down into this pool and then comes up and then pops out of another pool. Then on top of that, you have the 7 heavens, which are 7 solid domes. They would actually fall on the earth if Allah wasn't holding them up. It's in the lowest dome, the lowest heaven. That's where you have all the stars. And then stars are actually missiles that Allah uses to shoot at demons when they try to sneak into paradise to hear his plans. And so when you see a shooting star, it's because Allah took one of these stars and hurled a star at a demon trying to listen to his plans. And so you look at this and you say, what did Muhammad get right here? And the answer is, I don't see any, other than there is a sun and there is a moon and there are stars, some stuff like that anyone could have told you. Yeah, he gets that stuff right. But on everything else that wouldn't have just been common knowledge, he gets it completely wrong. And then Muslims will go 14 centuries getting everything completely wrong. And then in the 70s, they'll come up with, if we just argue that the Quran is filled with these scientific miracles, all we have to do is take all these Arabic words and give them some sort of translation that turns this into a scientific miracle. And then they'll say, the Quran says the universe is expanding. Really, did you come up with that before or after scientists told you the universe is expanding and you inserted it into the Quran? And so it's just this amazing situation where you look at what the Quran actually says. It's a scientific disaster. And then they'll give some weird new translation. And then we're all supposed to go, wow, how could this have been known? What is it? It's exactly what I said in the beginning. This is made for people in an atmosphere of ignorance. You walk up to someone who doesn't know what the Quran says, doesn't know how Muslims have understood a verse for 14 centuries, doesn't know that modern Muslims are trying to insert scientific ideas because they're desperate for some sort of confirmation. Person doesn't know any of this, and you just say, look, the Quran says the universe is expanding. And people go, "Oh my goodness, how could that have been known?" And this person knows nothing about what the Quran says about science and how it's one giant scientific disaster. It's a catastrophe.
Rude.
And then you try and get this person to convert to Islam based on ignorance, based on not knowing any of this stuff. And this is Dawah, guys. We literally opened the entire show for Muslims to come and present their proof for Islam. The only thing we've gotten so far are the very arguments that their own Dawah guys now admit were completely bogus. So guess what, guys? All your Dawah guys who taught you these arguments, they're on our side saying, do not use these arguments. They're bad arguments. These were made up. They're on our side. And you're arguing that the guys who gave you these arguments now admit that they were lying, and you're still believing their lies. And they're on our side telling you, okay, they're lies. The Christians are right. The atheists are right. We made all this stuff up. They're acknowledging and you're still sharing it. What does it take for you to realize that Dawah is just deception and you've been deceived? So we got that. And the only other thing we got apart from that was the last guy who was saying, oh, I feel like it's the truth, or I feel a certain way when the Quran is being recited. Great. Some teenage girls feel great when they hear Taylor Swift. I guess Taylor Swift is a new prophet.
She is. So
that's the truth.
And by the way, the idiot Ibn Abbas, Muhammad himself put his hand on him and made a prayer. Oh Allah, give him understanding in religion and teach him the interpretation of the Quran. Strong Hadith, Musnad Ahmad 2879.
Yes, and that prayer was not heard because all Allah did was turn Ibn Abbas into a giant idiot who didn't know that the universe is expanding.
And Ibn Abbas said the word expanding here actually means that Allah has power over it.
That was.
I don't know why he said that.
Those are wild things to hear, man. Who is Ibn Abbas?
That is insane.
Guy, but this seriously ties into everything. Again, the past couple shows we've done. It's oh, you believe this, but look at what Allah says. Who cares what Allah says? We don't care what Allah says. Like, okay, well, here's what Muhammad says. We don't care what Muhammad says. We don't care what Muhammad says. When we're talking about the Quran, we're citing Ibn Masud and Ubay ibn Ka'b, Muhammad's top guys, and Muslims. Who cares what they said? If the later Uthman knows better, and then Ibn Abbas disagrees with you on what the Quran means. Ibn Abbas, it's like, so Allah, Muhammad's top reciters of the Quran, Ibn Abbas, Muhammad's hand-chosen expert on the Quran, on the meaning of the Quran. They throw all these guys under the bus in a heartbeat, and we're asking why. What is so important that you will throw everyone in your religion under a bus in a heartbeat? The answer is, we just heard this from some Dawah guy, or we heard this from our imam, and we couldn't conceivably care less what Allah and Muhammad and Muhammad's companions. We don't care about any of that stuff. We only care what our modern Dawah guy or our modern imam says. And it's like, great. Well, then you do not have the religion of submission to Allah. That's not what you have anymore. And I keep saying it over and over again. Like your religion is one massive innovation. Your religion now is one massive instance of shirk. You have submitted to other people, and you have thrown Allah himself under the bus to bring Islam into line with what you're told today. And I'm a Christian. I'm not even speaking as a Christian. According to your own religion, you are doomed and going to hell. And I'm warning people, and they get mad at me.
Bad.
Weird.
Bad.
Yeah. We have more respect for Islam's sources than actual Muslims. Like, we're trying to be more Muslim than they are. It's just insane.
It's crazy. Crazy. So I see Faisal is here.
Hi.
Hello, Faisal.
Yeah, so like before going to the topic, can I touch upon that yesterday?
Oh,
topic?
it's Faisal again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is he a troll?
I remember we spoke to him before with David.
Yeah. AP can you remember me? I think
AP. Sorry, it was AP.
I think we talked yesterday.
Yeah. Yesterday, the Yah is the name of God, and I accept that when I made a mistake, that Yah is the name of God.
You accept defeat? You accept your humiliation?
You've been humiliated.
No. You've been humiliated. Sorry, we're just playing with you, Fazal.
Okay.
So why don't you give us your great proof for Islam? Why do you believe Islam is true?
Yeah. Before that, I just need to know.
Not before that. Can you just tell us your great proof for Islam? Because that's the topic of the show today. What is your proof that Islam is true?
Yeah. Okay. But before that, can I touch upon that yesterday topic? Because I said I will go and study and come back.
No,
The
no,
name of
no.
right?
No.
So where is the name of Yah in the
No.
Quran?
So
Oh,
I want
we're not going that way.
yeah. Stay on. We have that's a different topic. We're on the topic of prove Islam is true. So can you do that? Can you prove Islam is true? Give us your argument for why you believe Islam is true. You personally, why do you believe Islam is true?
I have multiple reasons, but the one of the best reason I can go for the prophecies about Islam in Old Testament and New Testament.
Oh, what?
Wait,
Look at David's face.
What's in the Old Testament and New Testament? What?
He said the prophecies about Muhammad in the Old and New Testament. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay.
The prophecy that he couldn't get God's name right. He didn't know God's name was Yahweh.
Okay. I mean, David and AP have both debated on this very recently. So why don't you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll hand it over to them.
Give me your arguments. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
we say give us your best one. So we ask for what your because people can have a cumulative case. They can have all kinds of arguments, and then we say, okay, what do you think the strongest point was? But anyway, we asked you, and you said prophecies about Islam in the Old and New Testament. So if you had to pick one, like what would your best example be?
Yeah, that would be Matthew chapter 22.
Matthew chapter 22.
Yeah.
Okay, take us through it. Take us through it.
Yeah, can you share that one on the screen so I can go through that one?
What do you think, Life?
Life is tough.
Sure. I'll share it.
Matthew chapter 22.
All right. Give me a second. You can go ahead and present it while I bring it up. Go ahead, man.
Can I do it? Can I present it?
Yeah.
We'll present your argument while I bring it up. Yeah, Matthew 22. Good.
Yeah, it is talking about God sending prophets to the Jewish people. Then, like, God is inviting Jewish people to the heaven. But when they reject all the prophets, then God is punishing the people, Jewish people.
Wait. Who does he send finally? Who does he send finally?
Yeah, that's me. He is sending prophets to the Jewish people.
Okay, and then what happens? Then what happens? He does something big. He's sending prophets first. Then who does he send?
Yeah, he's sending his servants, like his prophets.
Yeah. He's sending his servants. Then he sends someone else. Who does he send?
He doesn't say that, and he's simply saying he's sending servants, right? He's sending servants. Then these Jewish people are killing the servants. Because of that, when God is punishing that people, then he is sending servants to the Gentiles.
No, I'm asking because Jesus has multiple teachings about a similar issue that he keeps bringing up. But go ahead.
Okay, that's the point.
Good. Yeah, give us your interpretation. I'm saying he has several important passages that are all around the same theme. But go ahead, give us your argument.
Yeah, that's what I said. So God is sending servants. Servants mean the prophets to the Jewish people. Then Jewish people reject the servants and they kill many of them. After that, God is punishing them. That is destruction of the temple in 70 AD. After that, God sent prophets to the Gentiles, inviting Gentiles to the kingdom of heaven.
Can you go by verse when you speak about these things? What verse exactly you are leaning on? What verse you are exactly using for your conclusion there, and so on?
Yeah, quote us the passage.
Okay, go to the 22 verse 6. And the rest seized his servants. Okay, and rest seized his servants and treated them spitefully and killed them. When the king heard about it, he was furious. And he sent his army and burned the city.
Quick question. Again, there are multiple passages on this. Who is this wedding feast for?
Yeah, look at verse 2. Look at verse 2.
Now, the wedding feast is an analogy to the kingdom of heaven. Right? It's just an analogy.
Can you read the verse 2? Read verse 2? Can you read it for everyone and us?
Yeah, kingdom of heaven is like. Okay, his God is comparing kingdom of heaven to a king. The king is preparing the wedding feast to his son.
Can you just read the verse as it is? Okay.
Okay.
Without adding commentary.
Okay, kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who arranged a marriage for his son.
For who?
For his son.
Okay, so this is a king who's arranging a marriage for his son. right? And then you have the servants. You have the servants, right? And who are the servants?
The prophets, including Jesus.
So the prophets are the mere servants who are sent to arrange the marriage for the son.
No, they are well. These people are welcome.
Whoa! What do you mean? No? What do you mean? No? What do you mean? No?
You just read the
verse. Exactly what it says.
You just read the verse. It literally says, "The kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who arranged a marriage for his son."
Yeah,
you just read it right there.
Yeah, king is arranging a marriage wedding for his son.
What does it mean?
Servants are the. Yeah, what does it mean? That's an analogy for the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, who is the king and who is the son?
Here, the king means that refer to the God.
Okay.
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 Yeah. Okay. Now,
so God has a son. Hallelujah. God has a son.
And who is his son?
No, because I don't think the son has that. It's talking about the wedding feast. I don't think. Okay. Now you say. Okay. Now
you just read the verse. Who is the king and who is the son? Who is his son?
Okay, now you say son is the Jesus. Okay, now let's even if
one second. And we want to give you time to explain this. I just want to point out there's a reason I was pointing out. There's a reason I'm pointing out. Life. Can we go back just one chapter to the end of the previous chapter? I'm talking about Jesus is speaking on a theme in this section in the Gospel of Matthew, and chapter 22 comes right after chapter 21, and the beginning of chapter 22, which is what you're quoting, comes right after the end of chapter 21. So go ahead and scroll down. Go back up. Parable of the tenants there. Parable of the wicked vine dressers here. Here another parable. There was a certain landowner who planted a vineyard and set a hedge around it, dug a winepress in it, and built a tower. And he leased it to vine dressers and went into a far country. Now, when the vintage time drew near, he sent his servants, notice the servants again, he sent his servants to the vine dressers that they might receive its fruit. And the vine dressers took his servants, beat one, killed one, and stoned another. Again, he sent other servants, more than the first, and they did likewise to them. Then last of all, he sent his son to them, saying, they will respect my son. So what do you have? You acknowledge that the servants are prophets. So here you have God sending prophets. And finally he says, okay, now I'm going to send my son. And what do? But when the vine dressers saw the son, they said among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him and seize his inheritance. So they took him and cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. So that's what you have. Those are the servants and the son that you have at the end of chapter 21. And then it goes right into chapter 22, talking about the wedding feast for the son and how the servants are supposed to prepare people for the wedding feast of the son. What am I pointing out here? I'm saying that when we said, what's the proof of Islam? You went to a passage which is about Jesus being the son of God as proof that Islam is true. When Islam says, if you call Jesus the son, the entire universe is ready to fall apart. Surah 19, the entire universe is ready to fall apart when someone calls Jesus the son. So to prove that Islam is true in its complete denial of Jesus as the son, you go, I said, take your best one. You got the entire Bible. I said, pick your best one. You go to a passage which is literally about Jesus being the son of God.
Do you acknowledge, do you accept that Jesus is the son of God now?
No, that's a metaphor. I think it's okay to. Wow. I don't say literal sense. Okay, no. Before that, David. Okay,
Wait. He said that's what? What does he think?
A metaphor. He said it's a metaphor.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Hey, life. Let's go back. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 22 because there's plenty of fun stuff in Matthew 22.
Oh yeah. Well.
But yeah. So. Did we? Is Fazal gone?
No, I dropped him because he's dishonest.
Yeah. So and let scroll down to the end because this is amazing. Scroll down to the end of chapter 22. Right there. Jesus, how can David call his descendant Lord? While the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them, saying, what do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he? Who is the son? Whose son is the Christ? They said to him, the son of David. He said to them, how then does David in the spirit call him Lord, saying, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. If David then calls him Lord, so it's pointing out that they have a belief the Messiah is the son of David, and Jesus says, wait a minute, why does David call him Lord? Whose son is this guy really? He's not some mere descendant of David. That's not all the Messiah is. Can't be, because David himself calls him Lord. Who's going to call his great grandson Lord? Makes no sense. So what does Jesus say in verse 45? If David then calls him Lord, how is he his son? So what am I pointing out here? We ask our Muslim friend, hey, what's your best? We don't know what these guys are going to bring up, but we say, hey, what's your best evidence that Muhammad is a true prophet? Fazl says biblical prophecies about Muhammad. So we say, okay, so there are lots of passages that Muslims go to try and prove Islam from the Bible. Give us your best one. What is your best one? He goes to Matthew 22, which is about Jesus being the son. We went to the end of chapter 21, where it's about people killing the son who's sent to the vineyard. So Jesus is the son of God who's executed by the leaders. And here Jesus is claiming that he's the son of God. This is where you go to prove Islam. Jesus is the divine son of God who died on the cross. That's where you go to prove that Muhammad's a true prophet. This is what we're talking about, guys. You have all these things that Dawah guys will tell people, and Muslims just roll with them and just go with them. And we have basics. All you have to do is read the passage and it completely contradicts Islam. Why do we find this over and over again? What proves Islam is true? Embryology in the Quran, we look it up. It proves the opposite. Astronomy in the Quran, we look it up. It actually proves the opposite. The perfect preservation of the Quran, you look at the history of the Quran, it's the opposite. And now biblical prophecies about Muhammad. Really, these passages about Jesus being the son of God who dies on the cross. How come every argument they give us, we can literally just look at it and it's complete nonsense? This is somehow the proof. This is weird stuff.
All right, so this will be our last guess as we're heading up to 3 hours. So yep, make it count, Majid. You back for round 2, brother.
You got to redeem Islam.
All on your shoulders.
Majid, are you here? Oh, it looks like he's frozen.
Allah froze him.
Majid, we don't know if you can hear us, but you froze.
He did.
The last hope for Allah froze.
The last hope for Allah. Can you imagine that?
Yeah. The last hope for Allah.
We gave Allah one last chance and he froze.
This guy may be a troll. I don't know.
Yeah, hello?
Muslim?
Yeah, I'm a Muslim.
Say your shahada.
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.
Well, you won that one.
Thank you.
All right, so you will be the last guest. Go ahead, man. Make it count. All the Muslims did terrible.
Thank you. So my question is actually for David Wood.
This is not Q&A time. This is give us your proof for Islam time.
Okay, it was just bothering me a lot, and I just was hoping you could clear my confusion about it, about how Justin Martyr believes the Bible is corrupt and all that.
There we go. That didn't take long. but guys, think about what we have all sorts of shows on different topics, and we'll say, here's the topic. Why is it no matter what topic we bring up? Think, guys, all you Muslims who are watching, do you believe that Muhammad's a true prophet?
Hello, okay.
One second, Majid. But Muslims who are watching, do you believe that you have evidence that Muhammad is a true prophet? If so, then why, when we offer you the opportunity, we say, hey, we have tons of Christians and others who are willing to sit here and listen. We're helping you do your dawah. We're helping you give dawah. We say, hey, what is your argument? And all you want to do is change the subject. Like, when I hear that, when your first inclination is to change the subject to something else, when we're offering you an opportunity to give dawah right here in front of a bunch of people, it starts to look like deep down, you don't have a case. You know it. And that's why you want to change the subject whenever the subject is Muhammad and the Quran. But anyway, that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
But Majid's going to be different. Majid's going to be different.
Completely false, by the way. Justin Martyr didn't believe that Bible was corrupt. But yeah, Majid, go ahead, Majid.
Wait, did he lie?
Okay,
Yeah,
please, first
yeah,
this,
okay.
I would like. I would like to speak.
Whoa, what's going on with him?
I think he dropped his mic, but
No,
dude.
What is that?
Are you connecting from Uganda? Where are you?
I think he's trying to kiss the black stone or something. I don't know what's going on.
Yo, your audio is not working, man. You gotta get it together, or we.
What about now? What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
So the
Okay,
topic
so
is, what is your proof for Islam? Why do you believe Islam is true?
Okay, the reason why I believe Islam is true is because if you look at all the scriptures that all these prophets claim they have, if you look at all these scriptures, you will notice one thing. Like if you look at the Christianity, Jesus is not a Christian. If you look at the Old Testament, please, would you let me complete? Please don't interrupt. Don't interrupt. If you look at the Jewish Jesus, Moses is not a Jew. But if you look at the Islam is the only religion that comes with the standard fact. Allah says in the Quran, "Inna dina inda Allahil Islam."
And therefore, Islam is true.
Yes. But if you look at the Christianity, listen. If you look at the Christianity, Jesus, he is not a Christian. Even Jesus is not his name.
Well, you got
Jesus
us.
is not
You got us. I mean, you got us.
Yeah,
I mean,
a Christian is a follower of Christ. So you're saying Christ isn't a follower of Christ? He's the Christ. Yeah, a Christian is someone who is a follower of Christ. So why would it make sense to you to say, Christians got this big problem? Christ isn't a follower of Christ. He's the Christ. It's other people who are his followers.
This is
the
proof. Okay, let me ask you, would you let me speak?
No.
Well, you gave
let me speak.
We gave you an opportunity to give your best argument for Islam. Your best argument for Islam was Jesus was not a Christian.
You are given one chance. You are given one chance.
You only get one shot.
His number one argument is Muhammad was a Muslim. That's the argument. Muhammad was a Muslim.
Well,
yeah, Muhammad's a Muslim. This is the
Buddha was a Buddhist.
And Joseph Smith was a Mormon. How can you not convert to Mormonism now? Joseph Smith was a Mormon.
If you had one shot, one opportunity.
Another thing that
is
good about Islam, why I believe Islam is truly the word of God. If
you let it slip, man.
If you look at the Bible, Gospel of Matthew chapter 15, where Jesus used a slave word, according to Jesus, you are dogs. If you are not a Jew, according to Jesus, you are a dog.
All right.
Babbling about now.
All right.
Okay. Muslims are batting 0 today.
He really took no
Moses
advice
was not a
from
Jew.
Eminem.
Like I said, 0 + 0 + 0.
Didn't you ever listen to Lose Yourself?
Yep.
Yeah, but
You got one shot, man. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. You missed your chance to blow, man.
this opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
Yeah, you could have totally humiliated the Dizzle, AP, Jai, DOC, Life, everyone, all at the same time, all on God Logic's channel.
Yes. I mean, in all seriousness, are you freaking kidding me? In all seriousness, you are given one chance, right? What you are told that you could now bring your proof that Islam is true, and seriously, the thing that you go for is, think about this, guys. Think about how deep this is. So let me take you down the rabbit hole. In Christianity, Jesus was not a Christian. In Judaism, Moses was not a Jew. But in Islam, Muhammad was a Muslim. Really, if this is what you're going for, I don't want to hear the rest. I really don't want to hear any more from you.
Yeah. And by the way, something else that happened was you saw someone say, "Hey, this is the evidence that Islam is true," and what they're normally trying to do is say, "Hey, you've got a problem over here because you don't have this, but we've got this." But then what happens is we say, "Okay, if that's your criterion for a true religion, what about this?" So what happens if you say, "Oh, if the pioneer of the religion is also like a person who like is named in the religion. In other words, if Muhammad is also a Muslim, that means it's true." If we said, okay, if that's your criterion, then Joseph Smith was a Mormon. Therefore, Joseph Smith must speak the truth. And Mormonism is a true religion because the founder was also a member of the religion. Do you actually believe that? But this is this is the same thing as earlier when, but you know, monotheism, Muhammad taught monotheism. And what did Giant DOC point out? Oh, okay, Musaylama preached monotheism, so he's a true prophet, right? No, he's a false prophet. Okay, well, he preached monotheism. That's the point. They'll make up some criterion, and they clearly do not take the criterion seriously. If you actually believe, in other words, if that man just really believed what he just said, a person who comes up with a religion is also a member of the religion, then it must be true. That's what he said his argument for Islam was. Muhammad was a member of the religion, therefore Islam is true. Whereas Jesus is not a member of his religion in the sense that people are followers of him. If you actually believe that, that's the proof, then fine, Mormonism is true. Will our Muslim friend believe that Mormonism is true based on that criterion? No. Why? They don't really believe in the criteria they're using. They don't believe in any of this stuff. That's another like side point. They'll say Muhammad is a prophet because of this. And we'll say, okay, if that makes him a prophet, what about this guy over here? No, he's not a prophet. Okay, then that's not your real reason. And this was happening earlier on. We don't think that's your real reason for believing this stuff. We don't think that expanding is actually your real reason for believing that Islam is the truth. But notice what happens. We sit here and ask Muslims, can you give us any case? And I actually started off by saying all their arguments that have been exposed, and now their own Dawah guys acknowledge that those arguments have failed and been debunked and been exposed. And so I'm sitting here wondering, what do they actually have at this point? What arguments do they actually have? And we've seen it. We literally opened up God Logic's channel for Muslims around the world to give us any reason to believe in Islam, that Islam is true, and it's nothing but disasters. And so all I can conclude at this point, being completely serious, all I can conclude at this point is when we offer you an opportunity to give arguments, all you give are the same arguments that your own Dawah guys now admit were based on deception. And you can't give anything else. You cannot give us any argument that is not based on deception. What does that tell us about your religion? And then when you try to give some other criterion, oh, you know, Muhammad was a Muslim, this proves that Islam is true, you sound insane. What is this religion? What is it? Not one person on the entire planet can give one argument that comes within 1 trillion miles of showing that the religion is true. What is it? Anyway, just a big gang now. A gang. It's a gang.
Now he's got mom spaghetti all over him. That's all he got.
That's it. That's all Islam is. It just Islam became spaghetti. Yeah. Actually, that was wasn't that Anthony Rogers debated Islam Abdallah? Yeah, the Greek spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
That's Greek spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
That's it. So Islam just became spaghetti in this stream.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Based.
It's been defeated. It's been defeated.
Rude. Humiliated.
Destroyed.
Can't say we didn't give an opportunity.
Powerful.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I think that's it. You guys are going to be getting God Logic back next week. So he will be, I think, Right Life. He'll be back on Monday, I believe.
Yeah, he should be back Monday. Yeah.
Okay. So, yes. So,
all right, cool. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining. We'll see you guys on Monday. All right.
Peace. Inshallah. Thanks, everybody.
It's God.